So there I was, freshly reborn in the Huangshan immortal domain, born into the Jun family, the ultimate ancient cheat code clan. If you and I looked at this, we would think I hit the jackpot. I was chilling in the womb for 10 years while dragons and phoenixes screamed outside. But when I finally popped out in the heavenly emperor palace, the elders did not celebrate. They literally started crying. Turns out I have the desolate ancient's sacred body. It used to be god tier, but now, the universe nerfed it with 10 cosmic shackles. In my past life, I was just a broke orphan adopted by a blind fortune teller who promised my next life would reach the peak. Well, he was right about one thing: I was born at the finish line, but my engine is totally bricked. I was sitting there in my swaddling clothes, thinking, great, another trash tier main character start, even if my family is ridiculously overpowered. But then, a classic mechanical ding went off in my head. A sign-in system, and my very first spot was right here in the Heavenly Emperor Palace. The system offered a high-level sign-in with newcomer luck, so obviously, I told it to lock it in. Boom. It hits me with an 8-star reward, a fully mastered, major achievement, desolate ancient sacred body. Suddenly a volcanic force erupted inside me, and those 10 stupid golden shackles appeared around my body. Before the elders could even blink, the first chain cracked and shattered, releasing a massive wave of golden energy. Then, another loud crack, and the second chain snapped right off. The whole palace started shaking like an earthquake, glowing brighter than a disco ball. The third, fourth, fifth chains, they all went snap, crackle, and pop until all 10 shattered into dust. Outside, the sky went absolutely wild. 10,000 glowing phantom saints lined up in the clouds, bowing down toward my island. The whole immortal domain was collectively losing its mind, wondering what kind of monster was just born. Back inside, the elders stood there completely frozen. Then my granddad Jun Jantian, a total powerhouse, started crying happy tears and dancing around like a little kid, shouting that his grandson has the bearing of an emperor. Honestly, it was a little embarrassing. He looked like an old stage actor covered in battle flags, but hey, you gotta love his enthusiasm. The elders were already talking about how I was going to help us dominate the imperial throne of this era. They laughed at our rivals, the ancestral dragon nest, who had some kid named Long Ocean running around talking trash. We have got plenty of enemies, from dragon nests to forbidden zones, but my family figured a baby who just broke 10 cosmic shackles is the ultimate reset button. Meanwhile, my body was doing some serious math. Golden blood surged through my veins, and my aura exploded, refining tendons, forging bones, changing blood, clearing orifices, and gathering QI. I ripped through 5 physical stages in 15 minutes. Normally, that takes 5 years of eating rare herbs. The elders actually started swearing in shock, and then those 10,000 saint phantoms showed up inside the room, chanting for me. My grandfather and the elders were losing their minds over this light show called the 10,000 Saints Worship. They whisper about how this power unlocks the 6 paths of reincarnation, basically letting me steamroll anyone. Grandfather is grinning, already picturing the whole world bowing to me. Honestly, I had to laugh. Think about the math. Legendary talent, a powerhouse family, and a cheat code system in my head? It is almost unfair to everyone else. I wanted to keep a low profile, but my brain system chimes in, telling me to check in at the Taiyu Ancient Stele. So much for staying quiet. Then grandfather tries to name me Changsheng, which is just too cliché. Thank God my mom Jiang Ru suggests Jiao Yao, because being free is harder than living forever. My mom, Jiang Ru, was lying there looking pale but beautiful. Turns out she is a goddess from the legendary Jiang family, so grandfather could not just brush her off. But when he agreed to the name Xiaoyao, he let out this heavy sigh. That is when my baby eyelids twitched. I realized my dad was nowhere to be found. Did he get sacrificed early on so I could get overpowered? Thankfully, an old lady told him to stop worrying because my dad, Jun Wuhui, is the white-clothed god king, and there is no way he fell that easily. I made a mental note of that badass title. Then, the elders started whispering about hiding my powers so other clans would not target us. But before they could hide me, a booming voice rattled the sky, asking when our family became such cowards. You should have heard the gasp that went through the estate. People whispered that some legendary ancestor had literally crawled out of his coffin just for me. Above the palace, the sky ripped open, and a skinny old guy in dusty gray robes stepped out. He looked like he just crawled out of a grave, but the energy rolling off him felt like he could stomp on the universe. It was the 18th ancestor. Before I could even blink, he teleported right in front of grandfather and scooped me into his arms. I just stared back at him, totally chill, thinking this guy is way stronger than my grandfather. The 18th ancestor burst out laughing, calling me a true dragon and mocking the elders for wanting to hide my light. Grandfather just mumbled some excuse about protecting me. The 18th ancestor was not having any of that cautious crap. He basically declared that if any of those rival old fogies tried to touch me, he would start an immortal war, turning the whole domain upside down and leaving billions of people dead. Talk about a protective family member. Then he laid down the law. I was now officially the divine son of our family. Every single resource would be funneled to me to force my sacred body to its maximum potential. On top of that, he gave me the 0 sequence rank. The elders nearly choked. See, we have tens of thousands of kids in our family, but only 10 get a sequence spot to compete for the family head position. And 0 sequence. That is ranked even above the first sequence, representing limitless potential. Now that is what I call a head start. So get this, it turns out my dad, Jun Woohui, was the legendary white-clothed god king. When I popped out, the 18th ancestor handed me the title of Sequence 0 on a silver platter. Naturally, some old lady in the clan starts whining, going, "Is this really fair to the other kids?" My ancestor just waved his sleeve and told her, if they have a problem, they can try beating me in a fight first. Talk about pressure! With an invincible family, ridiculous talent, and my cheat system, if I still can't dominate this entire era, I should just quit. My granddad kept my status quiet to let me grow up in peace for 10 years, but he's planning a massive reveal for my 10th birthday. Now, he's teaching me the 5 divine treasure realms, explaining how they correspond to the 5 elements. He tells me once I master these 5 realms, I can gather a spirit sea and condense a spirit palace. For 3 years, I've been downing holy pills like cheap cabbage. My desolate ancient sacred body is a black hole for resources, but my family is filthy rich. I ask my granddad how long it takes to break these 5 realms. He says 5 years for average guys, maybe 1 or 2 for me. 1 or 2 years? I start running our Taisuan Sutra, and my blood starts roaring like thunder. My heart lights up like a neon sign. My granddad is standing there with his jaw on the floor. Boom! A gate in my heart blasts wide open. I feel my strength shoot up tenfold, golden energy surging through my veins. Honestly, I'm confused. I'm like, is that it? It really wasn't that hard. Since it was so easy, I just keep going. Half an hour later, boom, my liver divine treasure bursts open. A bit later, the spleen follows, then the lung. By the time a full day is wrapping up, my whole body shakes and the kidney divine treasure blows open. All 5 opened in 24 hours. I feel like an absolute god of war. Meanwhile, my granddad is staring at me, murmuring that it took him 2 whole years to do what I just did in a single day. He's looking at me like he's a piece of trash. I frown and tell him something feels off, and the old man completely panics. I look at him and ask why my kidney divine treasure feels way stronger than the other 4. It's ridiculously overpowered. Granddad checks me over, sighs in relief, and looks at me with pure envy. He tells me nothing is wrong, but that I need to spread the family leaves in the future, saying my mom will arrange a betrothal with the Jiang family's golden girl. I'm like, wait, does my sacred body seriously give me an overpowered kidney? No way, I'm falling for an arranged marriage. To change the subject, I ask him about the Taiyu ancient still. Turns out my family literally dug up this legendary monument and threw it in our arena. I tell him I want to test my strength there. He hesitates because I'm only 3, but I tell him I just want to try. My granddad was actually tailing me in secret, thinking some classic boomer stuff about how kids need to suffer a little setback so they do not grow up to be arrogant pricks. Sure, old man, whatever helps you sleep at night. Personally, I was just thrilled that after 3 long years, I was finally stepping out of the Heavenly Emperor Palace. Now, technically I was only 3, but thanks to my ridiculously overpowered desolate ancient sacred body, I already looked like a solid 6-year-old. Perfect skin, shiny dark hair, seriously, I looked like a miniature god. I was heading to check in at the Taiyu ancient stele, this massive monument our family basically stole from another clan to use as a gym. Some 14-year-old girl named Jun Linglong was there, and the crowd was hyping up her special heart. Everyone was whispering about this girl. See, she had this 7-orifice exquisite heart, which basically meant she was guaranteed to become a saint if she did not die young. Now, in our family, saints are not super rare, but in the rest of the world, they are absolute top-tier big shots. So naturally the elite disciples, the sequences, were desperate to recruit her, but she rejected them all. Suddenly, she yelled out her technique and slammed her delicate hand into the monument. Boom! It lit up with 150,000 jin of force. The crowd of sycophants went wild with compliments, but she did not even blink. Just then, this annoying girl in a blue dress named Lan Qingya sashayed over, talking trash about how that strength was not even that impressive. Lan Qingya was basically the favorite follower of the 10th sequence, Jun Zhangjian, so she thought her trash did not stink. She kept nagging Linglong, bragging that her master had a record of 5 million jin of force on that monument, dozens of times what Linglong just did, and calling her an ignorant snob for rejecting him. But Linglong just looked at her calmly and said she was waiting for someone who could suppress an entire era. What no one knew was that her special heart had once given her a vision of a mysterious figure in white, worshipped by billions, known as Heavenly Emperor Jun. She was waiting for that specific legend. Lan Qingya laughed it off, calling it ridiculous because in this chaotic era of rising geniuses, nobody could confidently claim they would conquer everything. Right on cue, I arrived riding a white crane, mostly because as I was only at 5th realm of the divine treasury and could not fly on my own yet. As I hopped off, the crowd started muttering about how young I looked. The older girls were staring at me like hungry wolves, making creepy jokes about wanting to pinch my cheeks or ride with me. Honestly, it was pretty disturbing for a 3-year-old, even if my physical constitution is insanely robust. One guy sensed my absurdly powerful life force and asked which branch of the family I belonged to, since he had never seen me. I just shrugged and told him, "Of course you have not seen me. This is literally my first time stepping outside the Heavenly Emperor Palace." So there I was, taking my first steps out of the Heavenly Emperor Palace, which is basically the VIP penthouse, only the ultimate heavy hitters of the Jun family get to live in. This kid from the clan sees me, starts shaking like a leaf, and asks if I am the legend from 3 years ago. I just look at him, lazy as hell, and say, "Yeah, that is me, Jun Xiaoyao." Boom. The entire arena goes wild. When I was born, the 18th ancestor personally named me the divine child, so now all these disciples are bowing to me in unison. Even the aloof Jun Linglong and that retainer girl Lan Qingya are dropping to their knees. Honestly, I was kind of disappointed. I wanted some haters to talk trash so I could slap them down, but since everyone is being so nice, I guess I will just head over to the Teiyu Ancient Stele and sign in. Right on cue, that robotic system voice pings in my head, asking if I want to sign in at the monument. I think, hell yeah, sign me in. Next thing I know, it tells me I scored a 6-star reward, the Divine Elephant Prison Suppressing Force. Immediately, this massive wave of ancient secrets floods my brain. This technique is insane. It says your body has 100,000 particles, and you can turn each one into a cosmic elephant. If you wake them all up, you can shatter stars and rip apart the moon with a single punch. I am sitting there thinking, man, my ancient sacred body is built for this. It is a match made in heaven. I immediately plop down on the dirt and start meditating to figure this out, leaving all the kids watching me totally confused. They thought I was here to lift weights, but I am out here rewriting biology. So these guys are staring at me like I have lost my mind, whispering about why this 3-year-old is just sitting on the dirt. Little do they know, I am busy feeling out those 100,000 sleeping giant elephants inside my body. Meanwhile, Jun Linglong is staring at my back, getting this weird, intense feeling like she is looking at some ancient deity. No one really knows about my sacred body yet, so they are all just guessing. This girl Lan Qingya is looking at me with zero respect, thinking her precious boss, Jun Zhangjian, is the ultimate badass because he lifted 5 million pounds here. She is probably thinking a toddler like me would be lucky to hit 100,000. Yeah, keep dreaming, sweetheart. I just shut out the noise and activate my golden energy. My sacred body is literally a cheat code for this. Boom! The first particle pops open like a firecracker, and I feel this insane power. We are talking 10,000 pounds of pure muscle per elephant. If you do the math, once I wake up all 100,000 particles, that is 1 billion pounds of strength. Meanwhile, that clown Zhangjian only hit 5 million. It is not even a competition. I keep pushing, and my golden energy shoots into the sky, shaping into a giant golden elephant that looks ready to swallow the moon. The crowd is just standing there, jaws on the floor. My bones start popping like bubble wrap as more particles wake up, and suddenly, my power surges right past the spirit vault limits, straight into the spiritual sea. So there I was, literally a 3-year-old kid, when this massive golden ocean of energy just explodes out of my chest, turning the whole place upside down. I kid you not, I had just woken up 1,000 giant elephant particles and cracked straight into the spirit sea realm. Do the math. Nobody in history has ever pulled this off at my age. The guys in the arena were gasping like landed fish, totally doubting their own existences. Even my grandpa, who was hiding in the shadows to baby me in case I failed, looked like he had just seen a ghost. He muttered that I was a total monster. I ignored the noise, locked my eyes on the Teiyu Ancient Stele, and got ready to smash some records. The standing record on that stele was 5 million jin, held by some cousin of mine named Jun Zhangjian. Now, he was not even the strongest guy in the family, just the only one who bothered to write his name on the board. Since I was born with a silver spoon and named the divine child on day 1, everyone was watching me like hawks, just waiting for me to slip up so they could whisper behind my back. My grandpa was sweating bullets in the shadows, but honestly, I was just curious to see what I could do. I clenched my fist, felt those 1,000 giant elephants surging through my veins, and just let it fly. Boom. The entire stone monument shook like an earthquake, flashing a big, fat 10 million jin. You should have seen their faces, pure, hilarious disbelief. So get this, that legendary Taiyu ancient stele was supposed to be totally foolproof. My buddy Jun Linglong is staring at me, her eyes practically popping out of her skull, realizing she was right about me all along. Even my grandfather, who was trying to act slick hiding in the shadows, has his face completely frozen. It was hilarious. But here is the thing, cracks start spider webbing out from my fist. I am standing there like, man, I swear I did not mean to break public property. Then boom, the whole ancient rock crumbles into dust. Suddenly this booming voice echoes from the heavens, announcing I just hit the eternal extremity and got a reward. At 3 years old, I have more physical strength than any ancient emperor ever. It makes Jun Zhangjian's 5 million jin record look absolutely pathetic. Everyone is looking at me like I am the ultimate boss. Meanwhile, Lan Qingye, who thought my max strength was some pathetic 100,000 jin, is blushing from sheer embarrassment. Then my grandfather pops out of thin air, laughing like a madman and shouting, "Haha, grandson, impressive." Honestly, the way he said grandson made it sound like he was calling me an asshole. I tried to tell him, "Hey old man, I broke your monument," but he did not care. He was just thrilled about my record. Then, this ball of chaotic light lands in my hand, containing a jade slip with a killer soul cultivation technique. It is like the universe wants me to be completely invincible. And to top it off, they announced the 18th ancestor is sending me 3 immortal god medicines. Cue everyone gasping. Everyone is absolutely green with envy because these immortal god medicines are insanely rare. Even the biggest factions only have 1 or 2, and here I am getting 3 at once like candy. Lan Qingye looked completely broken. Her boss, Jun Zhangjian, got one of these once and treated it like a sacred relic, too scared to even use it. Now I have 3, and I am just like, yeah, tell the ancestor I said thanks. I was ready to head back to my palace to test this stuff out, but then this gorgeous blonde girl, Jun Linglong, nervously stops me. She is wearing this fancy gown looking like a total 10 out of 10, but she is shaking like a leaf just trying to talk to me. Now, she is definitely easy on the eyes, but I am not the type to drop my jaw over a pretty girl, so I just give her a cool, "You need something?" So, I'm standing in the arena, right? Suddenly this girl Jun Linglong, normally totally untouchable, bows down and begs to be my follower. Boom. The entire arena goes dead silent. You could practically hear the hearts of all her local fanboys shattering into a million pieces. It was like their absolute goddess just volunteered to be my personal toy. I was totally thrown off. I mean, I'm 3 years old. Sure, every major player in the family builds a crew, and my dad had a legendary squad of badass heroes, but I was in no rush to recruit an army as a toddler. I asked her why, and she just gives me this deep look and says, "Intuition." Yeah, right. I could tell she was hiding some crazy secret, but I knew she was a prodigy. See, this girl has the 7 orifice exquisite heart, making her a certified genius. Everyone knew she was destined to be a saint. Now, my grandpa had been running my life, lecturing me on the Tao and nagging me about making babies when I'm literally 3. It was exhausting. I figured, why not make this goddess my maid? If anyone else knew I wanted a top-tier prodigy to pour my tea, they'd kill me. But before I could answer, this annoying girl, Lan Qingye, starts screeching. She accuses Linglong of insulting some hotshot named Zhangjian by rejecting him but begging to follow me. Linglong basically says she only follows people who rule eras. When Lan Qingye scoffs, my grandpa gets triggered and flicks his sleeve, sending her flying. Lan Qingye goes flying, eating dirt with blood on her lip. My grandpa only let her live because he wasn't about to waste his energy on a nobody. I looked at her and said, "Tell your cousin Zhangjian I'll spar with him later. As for you, beat it." She slinks off. And Linglong just stands there looking at me. Any other guy would have jumped at this, but I had to ask, "Do you even know how to serve people?" Everyone froze. A proud genius serving someone. But she nodded anyway. I shrugged and said, "Fine, you're hired." That's when everyone realized I didn't want a warrior. I wanted a maid. The guys looked ready to explode with jealousy. Linglong looked dazed, but she swallowed her pride and asked if she could ask me one question. So there we were, and this girl Jun Linglong looks me dead in the eye. asking what I'm gonna do when I become the Heavenly Emperor. I shrugged, laughed, and told her it's simple. I'm gonna crush every single enemy in this world. Suddenly, the sky goes absolutely nuts. Thunder is booming, clouds are ripping apart, and everyone's staring like I just broke the universe. My granddad, Jun Janshin, is sighing about how I sound exactly like my old man, muttering about heavy karma. Meanwhile, deep in some creepy forbidden zones, a bunch of ancient, salty lords are already whining about my ego. I was just spitballing, but Linglong is totally sold. She looks at me with stars in her eyes, begging to join my crew. What a wild job interview. If you and I were keeping score, look at the haul I got. I walked away with the divine elephant force, broke through to the ultimate realm, got sweet rewards from the heavenly Tao, and scored the chaos visualization method. Plus, the 18th ancestor gifted me 3 undying divine herbs. To top it off, I got a gorgeous blonde maid. Talk about a jackpot. As we walked back, the other disciples watched us go totally jaw-dropped. They were gossiping about whether this guy Jun Zhangjian would try to fight me to defend his girl Lan Qingya. Let him try. I'd love a good warm-up. When we arrived, Linglong was staring at my place like it was a holy temple, all nervous. I told her to chill. Being reborn in a super powerful family is a hell of a life cheat. Once we settled in, I told my granddad he didn't need to baby me every day anymore since Linglong was handling things. The old man practically blew a gasket, beard twitching like crazy, accusing me of tossing him aside the second I got a pretty girl around. He eventually folded, of course, but promised he'd still pop in for my lessons. I spent the next few days deep diving into that divine elephant technique. Let me tell you, this thing is insane. It's not just brute strength. It lets me manifest the spear of the underworld god for offense, the unbreakable guard of the underworld god for defense, and even wings to tear through space. Eventually, I'll be able to summon actual demon armies. Just as I was wishing I could check in somewhere else, the system chime goes off in my head, telling me my next check-in spot is my own upcoming 10-year-old banquet. Perfect timing. My 10th birthday bash is gonna be huge. They are inviting every major clan just to announce me as the Zero sequence. It's my grand debut and my next big check-in spot. I had to laugh because the system's schedule makes 0 sense, but hey, I'm not complaining. While I'm waiting, I couldn't help but wonder where the hell Jun Zhangjian was. Did the guy chicken out? I was hoping he'd try something. Meanwhile, his annoying girlfriend Lan Qingya was waiting outside his floating island palace, crying and begging him to avenge her. She's used to him being her personal muscle, so she figured he'd just crush me. Suddenly, his mountain started shaking, and a massive tornado of energy exploded from the peak. Looks like the boy is finally ready to play. Meanwhile, over on Zhangjian's spiritual island, the guy had just pulled off another breakthrough. Lan Qingya was practically vibrating with excitement because she figured her big hero could finally go beat up Linglong, or at least try to mess with me. This guy, Zhangjian, was the 10th sequence in our family, 13 years old, carrying a massive sword, hovering in the air like a total show-off. The rumor was that when he was born, every sword in the family area unsheathed itself. He had this ridiculous indestructible sword body. When he landed, all his lackeys bowed down, but he ignored them to look at Lan Qingya. She immediately did that fake crying thing, throwing herself into his arms. The other followers were probably throwing up in their mouths watching her play him like a fiddle. So get this, after that, this girl, who was the literal definition of a fake, manipulative green tea bitch, goes running back to her boy, Jun Zhangjian, crying her eyes out. Now Zhangjian usually spoiled her rotten, so he asks her what is wrong. She starts sobbing, saying she did it all for his sake, but that I bullied her. But the second she mentions my name, his face goes completely blank. His hair is covering his eyes and he asks, "Wait, you pissed off Jun Xiaoyao?" She is still playing the victim, begging him to stand up for her, and then slap. He completely levels her with a massive backhand. He screams, "Are you trying to get me killed?" She is standing there holding her swollen cheek, completely shocked because she thought she had him wrapped around her finger. Guess she learned the hard way that nobody is messing with me. So, my cousin Jun Zhangjian was absolutely losing his mind on his follower, Lan Qingya. Why? Because the dummy decided to try and pick a fight with me. She whined that she only did it for him, but he backhanded her so hard she flew across the room, spitting blood. He screamed, "Do you have any idea who his dad is?" She actually had the nerve to mouth off, saying my dad was missing. So Zhang Jian slapped her 12 times in a row, yes. 12 solid hits, until her face looked like a swollen turnip. He reminded her that my mom is a Jiang family goddess. And the 18th ancestor basically has my back. He told her to get her bruised self up and go beg me for forgiveness, or else. So Lan Qingya, terrified out of her mind, agreed to go. They literally strapped a bunch of thorny branches to her back. Talk about some painful, old-school penance. My cousin Jun Janjian decided to tag along to make the apology look legit. As they marched toward my heavenly emperor palace, everyone started staring. People originally thought Jian was coming to fight me, but then they saw this girl bleeding, her face swollen carrying a pile of thorns. Word spread fast. People whispered in shock, wondering if a proud sequence member was actually going to bow down to me. It was pretty funny, honestly. Usually these guys are arrogant as hell, but here he was, yielding without a fight. Meanwhile I was just chilling inside, completely relaxed. I was sitting back while Jun Linglong brewed me some tea. She used 10,000-year-old dew and leaves from the ancient tree. Honestly, other guys would kill for a cup of this stuff, but for me, it is just a daily routine. Right then, a servant announced that my cousin Janjian had arrived. I got all excited, thinking yes, finally, the classic revenge plotline. I figured he was here to teach me a lesson, and I was actually hyped to test my new power on him. But when they walked in, my jaw almost hit the floor. This guy was smiling, and the girl was kneeling behind him with thorns on her back, looking miserable. He asked me to be magnanimous, and she squeezed out a pathetic apology, wishing she could sink into the floor. Talk about totally ruining my script. My cousin Jun Janjian was sweating bullets. He thought I was going to run straight to the 18th ancestor and ruin his career. So, gritting his teeth, he pulls out this shiny gold token and says, "Cousin Xiaoyao, I found 2 Yuanshan Supreme tokens while training, and since I have no use for this extra one, it is yours." Now, my girl Linglong's eyes practically popped. A Supreme is way above a saint. We are talking about the absolute peak of the immortal domain. People would slaughter each other for this token. While I am laughing inside, my cheat system suddenly dings in my head, telling me to sign in at the actual treasury. Looks like a road trip is in my future. I grab the token and tell him he shouldn't have, while his face completely drops. I could hear him screaming inside, thinking I was a total parasite. But his shock was even bigger than his grief. He is staring at my hand, sensing this crazy golden energy, and his brain starts short-circuiting. See, the rumors said I had the desolate ancient sacred body, but everyone figured that was a joke. Since the ancient era, that physique was basically a curse. Heaven threw 10 chains on it to keep anyone from cultivating it. A useless build, right? But now he is looking at my golden spiritual sea and my sacred blood. He actually asks if it is true. I just nod. Even that girl Kingya, still groveling on the floor, is freaking out. My cousin tries to make a polite exit, but before he can walk away, I stop him. You should have seen his face. He looked at me like I was trying to swallow an entire elephant. I just coughed and told him to relax. I just want to spar. He actually chuckles, telling me I am too young and we can play later. Let's do the math. I am literally 3 years old, and this guy is 13 or 14. If he chips a tooth on my head, the 18th ancestor would skin him alive. But I didn't back down. I insisted, so we went out to the courtyard. Naturally, a crowd of our relatives gathered around, craning their necks. They thought we were here for an apology, and now they are watching a toddler get ready to throw hands with the 10th sequence. They started placing bets, and one guy says I will survive maybe 3 moves. Hearing the crowd, my cousin gets this smug smirk. He figures he lost his token, but now he gets to show off. He warns me to watch out and unleashes his 5th-level Divine Palace stage energy, aiming a fancy finger sword strike. I didn't even bother with a stance. I just clenched my fist. Instantly, all 1,000 of my giant elephant particles woke up, dumping 10 million jin of raw power into my arm. When I swung, the air literally warped, forming a massive sonic boom. My cousin's smug look evaporated. He tried to pull back, but boom! The sound of his finger bones shattering was like music. He went flying like a rag doll. Everyone was frozen. I looked down and said, "Cousin, don't pull your punches just because I am 3. It is insulting." I decided to make the first move, and my cousin Jun Janjian looked absolutely miserable. The crowd was already whispering that he was going easy on me, which clearly hurt his pride, because he immediately unleashed his 9 rising sun swords, sending these massive glowing blades tearing through the air. I did not even blink. I just called up my underworld god defense, letting this giant purple phantom wrap around me like a suit of armor. His swords hit it and shattered like cheap glass. Then I popped my black demon wings, flew right into his face, and summoned a flaming black spear packing 10 million jin of force. He tried to block with his ultimate technique, but my spear shattered his defense and sent him crashing straight through a stone wall. The bystanders looked like their eyes were about to pop out of their heads. 3 moves. That is all it took to completely flatten the 10th sequence of our family. The funny thing is, even I thought he was holding back at first. I actually walked over to him, while he was covered in dirt and tried to apologize, telling him I was sorry for thinking he was taking it easy on me. Honestly, I think that apology hurt him more than the actual beating. He looked like he was about to throw up blood. He forced this pathetic smile and muttered something about me being a divine genius, but he was dying inside. I was only 3 years old, so I guess throwing grown men through solid brick walls is not exactly standard toddler behavior. First, I break the ancient record, and now I thrash a ranked sequence. The whole clan was basically worshipping the ground I walked on. Cousin Janjian told me that once I hit 10, I would easily earn a sequence spot, maybe even beat his rank. I just shrugged. He did not know that the ancestors had already secretly designated me as sequence number 0, which put me above everyone else. Before he crawled away to heal, I told him he should stop letting trash like Lan Qingya hang around him because it was bad for his image. She turned bright red, realizing I was calling her a nobody. After they left, I realized my fighting style was too simple, so I decided to go ask my grandfather for some proper martial arts. While that girl Lan Qingya was busy getting kicked out of the clan, coughing up blood and plotting some cartoonish revenge against me, I did not care. To me, she was just an ant. I only got her thrown out because I did not want an eyesore ruining my morning. Instead, I went straight to my grandfather to ask for some high-level divine abilities. The old man just stared at me, his gray eyebrows furrowing as he told me I was being way too impatient. He reminded me that I was only 3 years old and should be focusing on my foundation, not complex martial arts. I get his point, but I was not exactly a normal toddler, and I had no intention of wasting years on basic exercises when I could be learning to break mountains. My grandfather, Jun Janqian, thought learning divine abilities would take too much time, so he tried to be sneaky. He gave me the art of military conquest, a super complex technique, hoping I would get frustrated and quit. He actually spent a whole year on it back in the day. But after just a few days, I triggered a massive golden storm that condensed into thousands of weapons. I walked out, sighed, and complained that it took me a couple of days just to get started. The poor old man almost choked on his own spit, told me to go find whatever else I wanted in the library, and left questioning his entire life. After that, 5 years flew by. I turned 8, growing up looking way too handsome for my own good. Fast forward a bit, and my maid, Jun Linglong, was basically spending half her days staring at my face like I was some work of art. Can you blame her? I am a good-looking guy. Still, I kept my nose to the grindstone, juggling the Taichuan Sutra, the Divine Elephant Force, and some intense soul cultivation all at once. Soon enough, I cruised right past the Spirit Sea and landed in the Divine Palace realm. With my crazy golden sacred body, my energy pool was basically bottomless. I had 2 years left until my 10th birthday, and then I planned to hit the road and track down that Yuanqian Supreme Treasury. Right around then, Linglong got a strange message on her jade slip from the Vermilion Bird Ancient Kingdom, a pretty powerful realm in the Fire Prefecture. So to get how this wild ride started, you gotta understand the map. Outside our family's territory, there are these 4 ancient kingdoms: Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Black Tortoise, and Vermilion Bird. Together, they're the 4 symbols. Now at that exact moment, the Emperor of Vermilion Bird was basically on his deathbed inside this massive, glittering palace. His face was black, his energy was practically zero, just a flickering candle about to go out. Standing by him was his daughter, Bai Yuer. Man, she was gorgeous. Legs for days, skin like snow, flaming red hair, and this cinnabar mark on her forehead that made her look straight up mesmerizing. She's crying, telling him she'll find an undying medicine to save his life. Her dad just sighs, telling her not to get her hopes up. I mean, those things are rarer than an honest politician, and even the biggest clans don't share. Now, Yuer was used to getting whatever she wanted because she was a top-tier beauty, and half the young geniuses in the world acted like her personal lapdogs. That made her pretty arrogant. She genuinely thought she could just snap her fingers and save her kingdom. But then she walks out of the palace, looking all serious, and starts complaining. She's calling all those simp geniuses trash because none of them can actually produce an undying medicine. Even her fiancé, Xiao Chen, the prince of the Azure Dragon Kingdom, couldn't deliver. They had this marriage deal where his family promised a medicine, but of course they flaked. So there she is, stressing out because her dad is fading fast, and suddenly she remembers my girl, Jun Linglong. She knows my family has plenty of undying medicine, so she panics and sends a message. So get this. My maid Linglong gets this message from some old buddy of hers, Bai Yuer, who is an imperial princess. This chick has the nerve to ask for an undying medicine right off the bat. Talk about a massive appetite. Linglong is stressing because she obviously does not have one. Meanwhile, I am chilling in my steaming hot spring, looking like a literal jade god at just 8 years old, when she brings me my tea. I can tell she is worried, so I make her spill the beans. Once she tells me, I just shrug. Let's do the math. I got 3 of those medicines from the monument, and my 18th ancestor gave me 5 more. That is 8. I only used 3, so I have 5 left. I tell her to just invite the girl over and I will give her one. Linglong looks at me like I am insane. She just does not get how the ultra-rich roll. Look, don't go thinking I am some kind of saint. I do not do charity, and playing the good guy is not my style. Let the righteous heroes deal with that boring crap. Sure, 1 undying medicine is pocket change to me, but I am not just throwing it away. I've got plans. The top guys in my family have their own vassal forces backing them up. Since I am the 0 sequence, I need my own crew too. The Vermilion Bird Ancient Kingdom is struggling, but they still have some weight. I want to pull them and 3 other kingdoms under my wing. Meanwhile, this princess gets the message and actually thinks I am doing this because of her looks. She is supposedly the top beauty over there, so she convinced herself I am hitting on her. People are hilarious. Apparently, she figured anyone giving away priceless medicine must be trying to get into her pants. She was actually disappointed, thinking we legendary geniuses were just basic, lustful dudes. Whatever helps her sleep at night, I guess. While she was traveling to see me, I was back in my training chamber, sitting surrounded by piles of top-shelf peerless grade divine sources. Normal cultivators use trashy common source stones, and rich ones use heaven sources. But for a family like mine, we only burn the absolute best. Just one of my training stones would start a war outside. I was sitting there with my eyes closed, focusing inward, building up the divine palace inside my mind. It is all about making my soul insanely strong. Once I hit the true spirit realm, my soul power is going to shoot through the roof. I'm currently practicing this crazy chaos divine mill visualization technique. In my mind, a massive, blood-stained millstone turns slowly, crushing my soul to pieces, then rebuilding it stronger. Normal people would scream and wish for death from the agony, but for me, it is not even that bad. Having a reincarnated soul gives me a massive cheat code. No pain, just gains. I can eventually even summon that millstone to crush my enemies in battle. Talk about a nasty secret weapon. Meanwhile, outside my territory, a fancy carriage pulled by a flaming bird was tearing through the sky. Everyone was gossiping about the Vermilion Bird Princess finally arriving at our gates. So she rolls up to our family estate, and honestly, our place is on another level. We've got floating islands and divine light everywhere. She gets out of her carriage alone, looking all confident and, honestly, kind of smug. Get this, she actually thought some rich kid in my family was so obsessed with her body that he'd just hand over an undying medicine for free. But she's planning to play hard to get because she's engaged and doesn't want to make her fiancé a cuckold. Hilarious, right? Anyway, she walks up to the gate, but our guards are basically walking iron towers. They stop her cold, asking her who she is. She tries to pull rank, saying she's the Vermilion Bird Princess here to see Linglong. The guard doesn't give a single crap. He tells her if she doesn't have a token, she can beat it. Her face goes totally stiff. Welcome to the big leagues, sweetheart. She finally gets let in, realizing her princess title means absolutely zip to my family. Meanwhile, Linglong comes to find me. Now, you gotta remember I'm only 8 years old at this point, but because of my insane talent and genetics, I'm already looking like a tall, handsome teenager. I tell her we should go see what this princess wants. We head over to this beautiful courtyard, and when Yor sees me walking in, her jaw literally drops. I mean, I'm basically glowing, looking like a literal deity. Compared to me, all those genius boyfriends she bragged about looked like swamp monsters. Even her fiancé looked dull. Then she notices Linglong, a proud noble lady of our house, walking half a step behind me like she's my maid. That really messes with her head. She starts sweating, wondering if I'm some high-ranking chosen. She bows, trying to act cool, and says she is the one. This princess girl, Bai Yuer, walks in acting like she owns the place. She figured I was just another rich kid lusting after her, so she did not even bother being polite. She asks me for an undying medicine to save her sick dad, but she says it like she is doing me a favor. I asked her for a single good reason why I should just hand over a legendary treasure, and she has the nerve to smirk at me. Then she starts hitting me with the ultimate guilt trip, saying I have plenty of medicine, and that saving her dad saves billions of people. Honestly, I wanted to laugh. I was getting morally kidnapped by a girl who thought her pretty face and long legs gave her the right to demand free handouts. She was gorgeous, sure, but the attitude, unbelievable. So, I'm looking at this girl, Bai Yuer, right? Honestly, she had some decent talent. My plan was simple. If she behaved herself, I'd use her as a pawn to lock down the Vermilion Bird Ancient Kingdom. Easy money, right? But of course, she turned out to be another stuck-up princess who thinks every guy is born to worship the ground she walks on. I had to laugh. Maybe some average guy would be drooling over her, but not me. I've got the looks, the power, and the family name. Everyone should be begging me for a favor. But she actually had the nerve to act high and mighty. I looked at her, smiled, and asked, "How long have we actually known each other?" She looked totally lost, stuttering that it was our very first time meeting. I just grinned. So I hit her with the cold hard facts. I asked her why she thought she was entitled to priceless, life-saving medicine on our first meeting. Did I ever say this stuff was free? Why should I care if her kingdom falls or if her dad kicks the bucket? She stood there, turning red and green, totally speechless. But then she tries to play the moral high ground, asking how I could be so heartless when billions of people could die. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "It is simple, because it is mine, and if I want to, I will give it to a dog." Her face went pale, realizing I valued her dad's life less than a stray mutt. Then she actually accused me of wanting her body, claiming she is engaged. I had to laugh. I told her to look in a mirror. The moment she realized I was the actual divine son of the Jun family, her knees buckled. She dropped to the dirt, crying and begging for forgiveness, her fancy red hair getting all dusty. But I just stood there, completely unfazed. I told her straight up that even a kid understands you do not get something for nothing in this world. Then I literally turned my back and walked away. My assistant Linglong just shook her head and told her she was on her own. Next thing you know, this princess is kneeling outside my bedroom door in the dirt, kowtowing until her forehead is bleeding, begging like her life depends on it. My family members walked right past her like she was invisible. It was a beautiful sight. Meanwhile, I was just chilling in my private hot spring, totally relaxed. Linglong came in, asking if I wanted to forgive her. I laughed and told her to let the girl cook out there for a while. Her attitude sucks, but her kingdom is still useful, so I will keep her around as a puppet. As for her fiancé, I could not care less who he is. Nobody in this entire world has a higher status than me. Half a year flies by. I spent the whole time breaking through new cultivation levels, making the palace walls shake with energy. People got so used to my crazy speed they did not even blink anymore. And poor Bayur, she was still out there kneeling in the dirt, looking pale, skinny, and completely broken after 6 months of waiting. So, this Princess Bayur had been kneeling outside my palace for 6 months. Since she cultivates, she's not gonna starve, but she looked like a total mess. All that royal pride. Completely gone. I didn't give her the time of day, walking right past her like a ghost. She just took it, smiling like she knew she had it coming. Meanwhile, I was inside leveling up. Boom. I hit the 9 heavens of the divine palace realm. Let's do some math. 5 physical levels, 5 treasury, 9 spirit sea, and 9 divine palace. That's 28 realms in 8 years, and I'm only 8. Normal geniuses take 20 years, but I did it in 8. Still, I need the true spirit realm before my 10th birthday. I called in my girl Jun Linglong, pulled out this rare purple Killin immortal medicine, and watched her jaw drop. I handed her the medicine and told her to head over to the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. I said, "Tell their dying king that if he falls in line and submits to me, this Killin stuff is his." Linglong got excited, saying she would go tell Bayur the good news right away. I held up my hand. Nope, let her keep kneeling. Don't tell her a thing, and make sure her kingdom keeps their mouths shut too. I wanted her to kneel for a full year, reach absolute despair, and then bam, find out her dad was cured. Talk about mind games. I actually laughed to myself like, man, am I becoming the villain here? Linglong loved the strategy though. She set off with her guardian, an old lady who apparently whined about me treating her like a servant, but Linglong shut that down. She knew what was coming. While my girl was on her way, let me tell you about the absolute drama unfolding over in Kang province. The Azure Dragon Ancient Kingdom was riding high, looking to run the whole show. They had this prince, Xiao Chen, who happened to be Bayur's fiancé. This kid was 16, already in the Divine Palace realm, which made him think he was hot stuff. He was kneeling in front of his old man, the king, begging for their one ancestral immortal medicine to save his girl's kingdom, but his dad shut him down, saying they weren't wasting their heirloom on outsiders. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen was practically crying blood, clenching his fists until his palms bled. He was dying inside because the whole world was laughing at him. I mean, his fiancée was literally kneeling outside my bedroom, and it was a massive embarrassment for him. I mean, she was his childhood sweetheart, so the kid was absolutely furious. He started whining to his dad about how I was just some spoiled bully who wasn't even human. Like, buddy, did you forget she tried to play me first? His dad told him to shut up and get lost, because you don't talk trash about my family. So Xiao Chen stormed out, rubbing this magic panlong ring his dead mom left him. Classic main character trope, right? The ring was feeding him power, making him think he could actually step on me. Good luck with that. Meanwhile, back in the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, their king was basically on his deathbed. A bunch of useless doctors stood around, totally clueless. A quasi-saint poisoned by a 9-slaying snake demon? They had zero hope. All they could do was cry about how their princess failed to get my help. So, picture this. The Vermilion Bird Kingdom is an absolute meltdown. Their doctors and ministers are huddled up, crying about how they can't mess with my family. I mean, they're not wrong. Tangling with the Jun family is a quick way to get your entire lineage erased. Their old king is on his deathbed, coughing up dust, looking like a total corpse. Just as they're whining, a guard bursts in shouting about some VIP. Some idiot minister starts screaming at him to shut up. That's when my girl, Jun Linglong, rolls in with Granny Hua. Linglong drops this beautifully sarcastic line about how the king isn't dead yet, so he can surely see her. The minister starts barking, and Granny Hua, a literal quasi-saint, just flexes her aura and blows him through a wall. Talk about an entrance. So now the ministers are sweating bullets, recognizing Linglong and realizing they just insulted my crew. The mouthy minister is face down in his own blood, probably wishing he'd called in sick. The dying king drags himself up, looking like he's about to face a firing squad, and asks if we're here to finish them off. Honestly, do they think I'm some bloodthirsty demon who destroys kingdoms for breakfast? Linglong just chuckles at them. She reaches into her spatial ring and pulls out this glowing, purple Killin immortality herb. The room goes dead silent. You should have seen their faces' eyes popping out, barely breathing, looking like bunch of broke peasants staring at a mountain of pure gold. It was honestly hilarious. Linglong doesn't waste time. She gives the king two choices. Swear loyalty to me, not the Jun family, mind you, but me personally, and get the herb, or just lie there and rot. Naturally, the ministers start overthinking it, like they actually have leverage. They're hesitating because kneeling to a teenager's personal brand feels a bit bruising to their giant royal egos. Linglong just gives them this ice-cold stare, basically asking if they're stupid. The king finally sighs, signs his soul over to me, and begs me not to be too hard on his daughter, Heir. Linglong hands over the herb and tells him to level up his cultivation so he can actually be a useful tool for me. Classic. So the king is basically my glorified employee now, and the hilarious part? He's actually thrilled about it. He's doing the math in his head, thinking this herb might push him into the saint stage. Hey, it makes him a better henchman. I'm all for it. Fast forward a few months. I'm chilling in my heavenly emperor palace, and I realize it's been a whole year of Heir kneeling outside. I figure, alright, she's learned her lesson, time to go tame her. But then, this absolute clown from the Azure Dragon Kingdom, Prince Xiao Chen, decides to fly over in his dragon carriage. This guy seriously thinks he's the main character of some fantasy novel, coming to rescue the girl and beat me up to get famous. You can't make this stuff up. So there I was, walking out of my palace, and guess who's still parked on the pavement? Heir. This girl had been kneeling out there for a literal year. 12 whole months, man. Her fancy red feather outfit was totally ruined, caked in dirt, and she looked like she'd seen a ghost. I mean, she's got that vermilion bird divine fire in her, but even a prodigy looks like a zombie after fasting for 365 days. Every time I walked past her, I didn't even look. I was letting her stew in her own despair, totally unaware that my assistant Linglong had already sent the medicine to her dad. So she's sitting there suffocating in her own tragic drama, and then I finally walk up to her. I'm 9 now, looking sharp in my white robes, and she looks up at me like I'm her savior. So I'm looking at Heir, and she looks like a stiff breeze could knock her over. I just stared with my best poker face, letting the silence stretch until she slammed her head into the stone floor 3 times. She begs for mercy, so I play the nice guy. Hey, get up, I'm not a monster. Meanwhile, Linglong is probably rolling her eyes. I mean, sure, I made her kneel out there for 365 days straight while I had the cure in my pocket. But who's counting? I toss her a priceless saint pill to nurse her back. Classic carrot and stick. She's too scared to ask for her dad's medicine, so she bows to leave. That's when Linglong pipes up. Wait, you're going home empty-handed? She gives this sad, bitter smile and goes, forgiveness is a miracle, I wouldn't dare ask for more. So Linglong tells her to call home. Now, you gotta understand. She has no idea what I've done. She pulls out her jade slip, sends a text, and the reply completely blows her mind. My family already delivered the medicine. Her dad is cured and leveling up. Eir's face goes red, staring at me like I'm a god. It was you, she whispers. I just smiled, told you I'm no monster. Right then, I became her world. She drops to her knees, swearing to serve me forever. But right as she's pledging her loyalty, some loudmouthed idiot starts screaming outside my gates, challenging me to a fight. My guards run up to tell me there's some punk from the Azure Dragon Kingdom trash-talking outside. I realized it was her fiancé, Xiao Chen. Talk about zero self-awareness. I told the guards to let him in so I could deal with him. Bai Yur went pale. She just got on my good side, and now her idiot boyfriend is here to ruin everything. The kid struts in wearing his blue robes, sees his girl kneeling in front of me, and absolutely loses his mind. Yur, get up, how dare he force you? He yells. But she snaps right back, telling him to shut up and show some respect. He's totally stunned, asking why she's defending me. Yur just cold shoulders him, saying she knelt by choice. She was already sick of him anyway after his kingdom backed out on helping her dad. So there we were, and the math just wasn't mathing for this girl, Bai Yur. She had begged her supposed fiancé, Xiao Chen, to help save her dying dad, and the guy gave her nothing but empty promises. Meanwhile, I roll up and actually hand over the cure. Who is the real hero here? Right. Xiao Chen is standing there looking like a complete tool, and she dumps him on the spot. The guy completely loses his mind, screaming at me like I fed her some magic potion. But while he is huffing and puffing, I notice this tacky coiling dragon ring on his finger. My soul sensitivity is off the charts, and I feel a distinct, dusty old ghost vibe radiating from it. You and I both know this classic old grandpa in the ring trope. Talk about a cliché. The funny thing is, the roles are totally flipped here. Usually, the poor main character gets betrayed, gets his revenge, and slaps the rich kid in the face. Is this guy actually trying to pull that on me? Yur looks at him and says she is canceling the engagement to serve me as a maid forever. Xiao Chen's face goes completely pale, then bright red. He basically starts screaming that she is a gold-digging betrayer who sold her dignity to me. Classy, right? To be fair, if I were in his shoes, I would probably wipe her off the map too. I am no saint. But here is the thing, she is my chess piece now. I can't just let some angry ex-fiance touch my property. Plus, this is the perfect opportunity for me to play the noble protector and make her even more devoted to me. I mean look, you and I both know guys who can't handle their own business. But imagine being this girl's fiancé and completely trashing her reputation like that. I had to step in. I got right in front of Bai Yur, shook my head, and gave him a look of pure disappointment. She looked at me like I was her hero, tears welling up in her eyes, giving me this look of pure adoration. Meanwhile, her actual fiancé, Xiao Chen, was losing his mind, turning redder than a fire engine. He looked like his head was glowing bright green like he just got cheated on by a whole continent. He screamed, "Do you dare to fight me fairly?" I had to laugh. I am literally 8 years old, and this clown is like 16. I told him sure, and we went to the arena. So I had Bai Yur and Jun Linglong walking right next to me, which was definitely putting on a show. Linglong was giving Xiao Chen this look of pure pity. I mean, when I was only 3 years old, I already knocked out the 10th sequence, Jun Zhangjian. Nobody actually knew how crazy strong I'd gotten since then, not even her. Xiao Chen was practically choking on his own jealousy seeing me with 2 gorgeous girls. I could tell he was trying to console himself, thinking he was some anime protagonist with his secret cheat code magic ring. When we got to the arena, my family's disciples started talking trash, laughing at this idiot prince who actually thought he had a shot. I just stepped onto the stage, cool as can be, and told him to make his move. I stood there with my hands behind my back, looking completely bored. This clown actually smirks and tells me that if he attacks first, I won't even get a chance to fight back. Right, because I'm 8 and he's some big shot Divine Palace genius. I just nodded and said, if you say so. Then I let my power loose. Let me do the math for you. My cultivation had awakened 20,000 giant elephant particles inside me. That translates to a casual 200 million caddies of raw, unfiltered physical strength. Basically, I can slap a star out of the sky. I threw a simple palm strike, and a massive golden hand materialized, crushing the sky itself. Xiao Chen turned white as a sheet, desperately screaming and throwing his special dragon punch. But honestly, it was pretty pathetic. Yeah, that little dragon punch of his did absolutely nothing. My giant golden palm ripped right through his attack like wet tissue paper and slammed straight into his chest. The guy coughed up a literal fountain of blood and went flying across the arena like a rag doll, hitting the dirt hard. Total silence. Everyone was completely stunned. They knew he was outmatched, but they didn't expect me to swat him like a common fly. Suddenly, the crowd erupted, talking about how I'm already at the 9th heaven of the Divine Palace level, at just 8 years old, while this older chump couldn't even survive one hit. Even Bai Yur looked shocked, staring at me with even more adoration. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen was just lying in the dirt, crying about how unfair life's. Honestly, the kid looks completely lost lying there in the dirt. He probably thought this was the part of the story where he makes a miraculous comeback and steps on my face. Instead, he is just eating dirt. I tell him straight up, I only let him swing first so he wouldn't get bored, but I clearly overestimated him. That comment makes him boil over. And you know how it goes, when a protagonist gets mad, they get a sudden power boost. This guy starts glowing, his dragon energy flares up, and he literally starts skipping levels. Second heaven of the divine palace, third, fourth, fifth, all the way to the sixth heaven. 5 minor realms in 5 seconds. The crowd is actually impressed, and even my grandpa, Jun Janshin, is watching from the clouds like, hey, the kid actually has some decent luck. My grandpa and the other elders are basically laughing their heads off, because this kid really picked the wrong opponent. I mean, I have the ancient sacred body. Dragon energy is cute and all, but it is nothing compared to what I am packing. I look at him doing his little level up trick and I am like, seriously? Are you trying to cheat right in front of the master of cheats? It is almost insulting. He flies up into the air, screaming some dramatic name like Azure Dragon Heavenly Seat Seal, trying to crush me and make me kneel. So cute. I just shake my head, wave my hand, and activate our family's signature move, the art of military conquest. Instantly, tens of thousands of golden swords, spears, and axes materialize in the air around me. Suddenly, I look like the absolute king of all weapons standing there. I push my hand forward and this massive, terrifying storm of golden blades just shreds right through his big dragon seal like a hot knife through butter. He tries to run, but my weapons are too fast, carving him up until he falls out of the sky like a broken bird, crashing hard into the dirt. He is bleeding from everywhere, hair all messed up, just a total disaster of a human being. I lean my head to the side, look down at him, and casually ask, "Is that really all you got?" That absolutely breaks his spirit, and he literally coughs up a pint of blood from sheer embarrassment. To make it worse, he looks over at his former girl, and she is just looking at him with this sad, pitiful look of pure disappointment. This absolute rejection was like a knife to Xiao Chen's fragile little ego. I looked down at him and said, "There's always someone bigger and better, kid. In front of me, even if you're a dragon, you crawl. With my crazy talent, the system, and my family backing me, I'm here to dominate this entire era. These main character wannabes are just background noise to me." He stood there trembling, fists clenched, dying of embarrassment because he knew he was completely outclassed. Yor stepped in, trying to save him, telling him to back off, because I could easily end him. "He's showing you mercy," she said. But that just bruised his ego even worse. He screamed, "Shut up, you bitch! I don't need his mercy." I had to chuckle to myself. She's just pouring gasoline on his fire, but hey, that works for me. So there I was, already cooking up a much better plan in my head. Meanwhile, this guy Xiao Chen is having a total meltdown, screaming at his former girl, "Bye Yor," until her face goes completely numb. The kid is panting, squeezing his fists so hard his nails are drawing blood. Then he glares at us and drops this classic, dramatic line, 30 years east of the river, 30 years west, do not bully a broke young man." He actually demands a rematch in 3 years. I swear, with the blood on his face, some of the girls in my family actually looked impressed. He turns to make this tragic, slow-motion exit, leaving bloody tracks. I'm like, really? You think you can just drop a mic drop quote and stroll out? I just smiled and said, hold on. Did I say you could leave? Xiao Chen spun around, looking completely thrown off. He probably thought that because of my status, I'd act all generous, let him walk, and then wait 3 years to get my face slapped in some cliché rematch. Sorry bro, I don't play by those rules. I asked him what he thought my family, and I actually were to let him talk trash and just stroll out. He got scared and tried to use reverse psychology, asking if I was afraid of him. I just chuckled and told him I wasn't going to kill him, but his dragon key was mine. I raised my hand, summoned a massive golden palm, and swatted him down. Then I reached in and literally ripped his glowing dragon spirit right out of his chest. When he screamed, I slapped him again, breaking half his bones. I didn't kill him, but his cultivation was completely ruined. Now, the kid wouldn't beat me in 300 years, let alone 3. He just glared, spitting my name like poison. The other disciples watching actually shivered. It was their first time seeing how ruthless I could get. Up in the shadows, my granddad and the elders were practically high-fiving, loving how cold-blooded I was. They knew the world out there is brutal, so they wanted me tough. I didn't waste time and absorbed that dragon ki right in front of him. Boom! My body started popping as another 10,000 giant elephant particles woke up. That put me at 30,000 particles, which translates to 300 million pounds of pure muscle. Absolutely ridiculous. I even got this slick dragon scale armor under my skin. I tossed the leftover energy to buy Heir to boost her vermilion bird fire, and she was so touched she almost cried. Hey, I need her to run a kingdom for me later. Watching me give his stolen energy to his ex, who was now basically acting like my biggest fan, made Xiao Chen cough up a massive mouthful of blood. The guy was so furious his eyes were rolling back. I looked at him and said, seriously, don't get mad, I am doing this for your own good. Think about it. What main character doesn't get their cultivation wrecked before they hit their massive power spike? I was literally helping him build character. But the kid just couldn't handle the truth. He let out this tragic, dramatic scream, barfed up more blood, and passed out cold. Everyone in the arena looked at me like I was a straight-up menace, not just for my strength, but for my savage trash talk. Honestly, I was doing him a favor. I just waved my hand and told the guards to throw his body out by the front gate. After my guards dragged away this unconscious kid named Xiao Chen, my grandfather, Jun Jantian, basically materialized out of thin air. The old man was super serious, hitting me with that classic warning about pulling weeds by the roots. He thought I was being a cocky kid, letting the guy slide, but honestly, I knew exactly what I was doing. This Xiao Chen guy is basically a human crop. I only harvested his dragon energy so far, but he still has plenty of luck left. Why kill him now when I can keep farming him and slap him like a fly later? Grandfather bought it and told me to get ready for my 10th birthday bash. That party is gonna be massive, and they are even gonna announce me as the Zero Sequence, which is bound to stir up some major drama with the other heirs. So I look my grandfather dead in the eye and say, look, old man, relax. I am not about to let you, my mother, or the 18th ancestor down. Honestly, I was already doing the math on my 10th birthday banquet coming up. A massive party means a massive check-in opportunity, which means another ridiculous upgrade. I headed back to my heavenly emperor palace to cook up this fresh batch of dragon ki I just scored. Heir tagged along too, using her tiny slice of dragon ki and her vermilion bird fire to seriously level up. She is basically obsessed with me now. Meanwhile, poor Xiao Chen woke up outside our front gates looking like a total chew toy, bones shattered, power lines cut, with random bystanders pointing and laughing at him like he is a drowned rat. This clown Xiao Chen drags himself away from the crowd, screaming at the sky and punching trees like a toddler having a tantrum. Pure main character energy, right? But then, get this. His blood drips onto his cheap little family heirloom ring, and boom, a wild grandpa appears. It is a glowing blue phantom with actual dragon horns, and Xiao Chen is staring at him like he just saw a ghost, which he did. Turns out, this guy is Master Qinglong, the literal founder of his kingdom and a quasi-supreme who was half a step away from the absolute top tier. Xiao Chen is shaking like a leaf, realizing his dead mother's ring was holding the soul of his nation's greatest ancestor. Talk about some serious plot armor. So this ancient dragon grandpa basically tells him, look, I have been feeding you power for years. How did you still get your butt kicked by that Jun kid? Xiao Chen gets all whiny, asking why the old man didn't just assassinate me on the spot. The old ghost calls him an idiot and explains that my family would have turned them both into paste if he tried. But then he hands the kid a cheat code, a crazy technique called the Azure Heaven Dragon Transformation Art. The whole vibe is you have to break your bones to get stronger. Suddenly, Xiao Chen is all fired up again, cursing my name and thinking he actually has a shot. Grandpa even tells him a massive secret treasure vault is about to open up. The old ghost explains that this supreme guy was a total badass, who literally stole ancient dragon bones from the primordial imperial clan. The plan is simple. Xiao Chen needs to grab a special key token, sneak into the vault, and steal those bones so he can max out his technique and give Grandpa a new body. Xiao Chen starts laughing like a cartoon villain, ready to hunt me down. Meanwhile, back in my cozy palace, I let out a massive sneeze. I literally muttered to myself, man, somebody must be talking trash. It is probably Xiao Chen. I just had to laugh. The guy already handed me his fiancée and a ton of dragon ki, and now he is out there cooking up another delivery. What a guy. I figured I needed to lock myself in a room and actually put in some work before this big debut. I couldn't just show up and embarrass myself in front of every powerhouse in the immortal domain. But when word got out that I was going into seclusion, my clan absolutely lost their minds. People were gossiping like crazy, saying things like, wait, this kid has never even tried before and he's already this strong. What happens when he actually tries? They were all betting on me hitting the true spirit stage. Meanwhile, the whole world was whispering about my dad, the legendary white-clothed god king, wondering if I'd inherit his crazy talent. No pressure, right? I had a massive legacy to live up to, and everyone was watching, waiting to see if I was the real deal or just a fluke. Let's talk geography for a second so you get the scale of this place. We've got the Hong province, which is controlled by our rivals, the ancestral dragon nest. These dragon guys rule over 50 different provinces. For comparison, that vermilion bird kingdom only has one. But my family? We rule over 100. Yeah, we're twice as big as the dragon overlords, no big deal. Anyway, in one of those dragon-controlled cities, it's a total zoo dudes with horns, wings, and scales walking around everywhere. Humans are rare there, which is why everyone was staring at this girl in a blue dress and a hood. It was Lan Qingya, the girl we kicked out of our house. She was wandering around, looking lost, staring at some fancy restaurant like she was planning her next move. So this chick Lan Qingya gets booted from my family, right? Instead of getting a job, she's sleeping in the dirt, blaming me and Linglong for her bad luck. Her grand plan? Leak my ancient sacred body's secret to some arrogant dragon kid named Long Haoshan. Now, this Haoshan kid is up in some tacky golden restaurant surrounded by beastmen, showing off his literal horns and shiny gold scales. He's a dragon's son from the ancestral dragon nest, which is basically their version of our elite heirs. The crowd is kissing his feet because he just fused with some dead dragon's core, hyping him up like he's the next big thing, and I'm just sitting back, waiting to see how this train wreck unfolds. So this kid is bragging about fusing with one single dragon core. Meanwhile, his yes men are losing their minds because normally, trying to absorb one of those things would make a regular guy blow up like a cheap firework. But then he drops the real flex. His older brother, Long Haoshan, has already fused with 3 of them, and is planning to go for 7. 7! Talk about overcompensating. But then some guy with bull horns from the Bull Demon Mountain pipes up, bringing up my upcoming 10-year birthday banquet. Suddenly, the whole room goes dead silent. I haven't even stepped out into the world yet, but ever since that crazy saint phenomenon at my birth 10 years ago, these guys are absolutely terrified of me. They don't know what I can do, and honestly, that's exactly how I like it. So, check this out. My dad was the legendary white-clothed god king, which basically meant I was born with a massive target on my back. These lizard people from the ancestral dragon nest already hated my guts because of some old family drama. Get this, my dad, back when he was just a saint, literally skinned one of their big-shot, quasi-supreme dragons and pulled its tendons out like spaghetti. Total humiliation, right? Anyway, this arrogant punk named Long Haoshan was sitting in a pavilion, talking trash, saying I was probably a fraud. But then, this human girl in a blue dress named Lan Qingya walks in. She used to crawl around my family as a follower, but she decided to play traitor and sell me out to these scaly beasts. Lan Qingya starts crying about how my family wronged her, and then she drops my big secret. She tells them I have the ancient sacred body. At first, the whole room laughs like it is the funniest joke ever, since everyone thinks that physique is just trash now, but then she tells them I already broke through one of the cosmic shackles. Suddenly, their smug smiles freeze. Long Haoshan tries to act tough, claiming my family just bought my way through, and that I would hit a brick wall by the 3rd layer anyway. Little did that genius know, I did not just break 1 layer, I broke all 10 of them the second I was born. But the clone is already planning to crash my 10th birthday party to show me up. Honestly, I cannot wait. So these guys are practically throwing a party, celebrating how they are going to ruin my reputation. Lan Qingya is over there plotting her revenge, thinking she is a mastermind. Meanwhile, back at my place, my family is not playing around. They send out these golden flying sword invitations that shoot across the sky like fireworks, letting the whole desolate heaven immortal domain know that my 10th birthday bash is officially on. The whole realm goes wild because nobody has actually seen me yet. Everyone is buzzing, wondering what the son of the legendary white-clothed god king looks like. Even my mom's side of the family, the prestigious Jiang family over in Qingzhou, is getting ready for the big day. My mom, Jiang Ru, used to be their goddess, so they have a lot of skin in the game too. Over in the Jiang family's misty mountains, my gorgeous aunt, Jiang Shengyi, is waiting for the party. She is my mom's cousin, 24 years old, and basically looks like a celestial fairy dropped straight into the real world. She is excited to finally meet her nephew, which is me, obviously. While she is waiting, this energetic 12-year-old girl named Jiang Luoli comes bouncing in with her twin ponytails. She is the pampered darling of the family, and has this crazy rare origin spirit Dao body. Shengyi playfully taps her on the head, asking why she is slacking off instead of training. Luoli just laughs it off, saying she has Shengyi to protect her anyway. Then Shengyi tells her to pack her bags, because they are both heading over to my place for the birthday bash. So, get this, before I even turned 10, my family was already trying to marry me off. My aunt, Jiang Shengyi, was teasing this young girl, Jiang Luoli, about being my future wife. Luoli immediately threw a tantrum, swearing she would rather jump off a cliff than do an arranged marriage. But then my aunt mentioned my mom said I looked like a literal god who fell to earth. That shut her up quick because she is totally obsessed with good looks. Meanwhile, the hype for my 10th birthday banquet was getting ridiculous. My family invited every ancient powerhouse in the realm. If you were a second-rate clan, you did not even get a real invite, just nosebleed seats outside. After a year of waiting, the big day finally arrived, and the whole realm went wild. Picture this. The sky is packed with ancient warships, flying boats, and massive beasts, all heading straight to my family's estate in Huang Prefecture. Even the princess of the Great Shang Dynasty was flying in on her massive ship. Apparently, once you turn 10, people expect you to start looking for a spouse. Even though nobody had actually seen my face yet, my status alone had all these princesses and holy girls ready to throw themselves at me to boost their own clans. Even the ancient Yi family was rolling up. One of their top guys, a kid named Yi Xindian, was tagging along purely because he heard Jiang Luoli was coming. His family's old servant, a quasi-saint, had to warn him not to cause trouble at my party. The kid just laughed, completely clueless about what he was walking into. This Yi Xindian kid had the Star King body, ranked in the top 500, so he thought he was hot stuff. He had met Luoli in some secret realm and was convinced she was meant to be his woman, seeing my party as his big chance to make a move. Good luck with that, pal. Outside our gates, the crowd was insane. Chariots, massive beasts, ships, and our security formations would make even a saint think twice, so nobody dared to start anything. Then the gifts rolled in. 9 volumes of ancient scriptures, a bottle of rare jade marrow, and 100 top-grade divine sources. People were turning green with envy watching all these treasures get handed over to me. Finally, the Great Shang Dynasty offered up a legendary mountain map scroll, brought in by a stunning princess. It was absolute madness. So there I am. Well, technically I am still in my room, but the whole courtyard is buzzing about me. This gorgeous princess of Great Shang is apparently swooning, and all these local prodigy guys are crying into their drinks because they don't stand a chance. It is honestly hilarious. Then the guest list starts rolling in like a who's who of the world: the Zufeng Empire, Tianya Academy, you name it. If you got the invite, you showed up, or else. My mom's side, the legendary Jiang family, rolls up and absolutely flexes with their gifts. 1 ancient saint weapon, 3 undying herbs, 100 top-tier saint pills, and 1,000 divine sources. Talk about family perks. Plus, my cousins Jiang Shengyi and little Jiang Luoli walk in, making every guy in the room lose his mind. My cousins are the absolute center of attention. Shengyi has the innate Dao embryo, and little Luoli has the origin spirit Dao body. Every guy is staring. Then the Yi family rolls up, and man, talk about cheapskates. They brought 10 saint herbs, 100 divine sources, and 3 lord-tier weapons. Compared to my mom's family, it looked like a joke. Their prodigy, Yi Xindian, who supposedly has the Star King body, tries to play smooth and flirt with Luoli. He walks up, but Luoli literally has no clue who he is. When he tries to remind her of some adventure, she just shrugs and tells him she doesn't remember average-looking people. Absolute burn. The dude is dying of embarrassment, but he still tries to ask if they can sit together. Clearly, this Xindian guy wasn't here for the food. He was trying to swoop in on my territory. My cousin Shengyi saw right through it. She knew my mom Jiang Ru was already trying to set me up with Luoli, so she wasn't about to let this random dude ruin the plan. She grabbed Luoli's hand and dragged her away to find my mom. Meanwhile, the VIP banquet hall is open, and we are serving the good stuff. Rare delicacies, ancient wines, the works. Everyone is eating, but they're all whispering, wondering where the hell I am. Just then, some of my own family's heavy hitters show up. Jun Zhangjian, our 10th sequence, walks in looking sharp as a sword, alongside a cousin of mine who looks like she was literally carved out of ice, complete with a freezing aura and a fancy blue phoenix hairpin. So, get this. While I was backstage prepping for my 10th birthday bash, the main hall was already a complete circus. My cousin Jun Zuihuang, the 7th sequence of our family, strolled in, and everyone was losing their minds. She has this ice spirit body, and rumor has it she can freeze 10,000 miles with a single thought. Brutal, right? She actually came out of seclusion just to check me out. She even teased poor Jun Zhangjian about how I beat his butt when I was only 3. Oof, talk about bringing up old trauma. But then the vibe turned ice cold when this terrifying guy in silver battle armor walked in, eyes literally crackling with lightning. It was Jun Wanji, the legendary 5th sequence. Even the cocky local geniuses looked like they were about to wet themselves. Now, this Wanji guy is actually a self-made badass. He started out as a collateral branch nobody, getting treated like dirt before he stumbled onto a supreme legacy and awakened the lightning tribulation battle physique. That put him in the top 300 out of 3,000 physical traits. He clawed his way to the 5th sequence, but his rough past left him with a massive chip on his shoulder. He just sat there alone, radiating a total stay-away vibe. Meanwhile, my grandfather, Jun Jantian, was welcoming all the big shots to my 10th birthday bash. My mom, Jiang Ru, was there too, and the crowd was practically tripping over themselves to show respect, acting like catching a glimpse of me was some holy blessing. I mean, can you blame them? But here is the catch: I was not even there. The party had started, and yours truly was a total no-show. While guests whispered, my grandfather covered for me, explaining I was still in seclusion. Right on cue, the sky did my hype work. A massive tremor shook the palace, thunder cracked across the 9 heavens, and 10,000 beams of light painted the clouds. Everyone choked on their drinks when they felt my breakthrough aura. I was only 10, but my power was literally shaking the earth. When the giant golden phantom of a primordial divine elephant materialized, it completely terrified the crowd, giving this arrogant genius named Yi Xingyan a massive panic attack. I love making people sweat without even trying. Before the crowd could lose their minds completely, a giant hand reached down from the heavens and swiped away my breakthrough phenomena, like wiping a screen. It was our 18th ancestor, a supreme power protecting my secrets. With everyone still trembling, the grand doors of the palace finally creaked open. I stepped out, dressed in pure white robes, wrapped in a glowing immortal radiance. Honestly, I looked so ridiculously handsome that the entire venue went dead silent. Girls literally forgot how to breathe, and even my cousins looked completely starstruck. After a year of seclusion, my aura had leveled up so much I barely looked human anymore. It was like some immortal had dropped out of the sky. I guess you could say my entrance was a total showstopper. I spent a whole year in seclusion and totally lost track of time. When I finally step outside, my helper Jun Linglong is waiting to tell me the party is starting. I do some quick mental math on my progress. I am only 10 years old, and I just hit the peak of the 9th layer of the true spirit realm. Honestly, it is ridiculous. Nobody in the history of the immortal domain has done that at my age. I fly down to the main hall, and the moment I walk in, all the chatter just stops. I tell them, "Thank you everyone for coming to my banquet," and the crowd goes silent. The women look like they are about to faint, and even the old elders are staring at me like I am some sort of god. It is a little awkward being this perfect, but hey, someone has got to do it. I was trying to enjoy a second of peace at my own party when this loud, high-pitched scream cuts through the air. This tiny girl runs up, yelling to ask if I am the divine son, Jun Xiaoyao. My first thought? Man, she is short, like barely 4'11", maybe 1.5 meters max. She is cute, dimples and all, but she is literally drooling looking at me. She stammers that her name is Jiang Luoli, which sounds suspiciously like Lolita. I tilt my head, and she turns bright red, totally unable to speak. Since she is my cousin, I give her a polite smile and thank her for coming. Boom. She freezes like she got hit by a taser. My ridiculous looks apparently broke her. Even my aunt Jiang Shengyi, who came to tease her, is standing there completely stunned. So I walk in, and the second this gorgeous woman Jiang Shengyi looks at me, she completely freezes. I could literally feel this weird, crazy energy vibrating off her, like her fancy innate Dao embryo was short-circuiting. Her face goes bright red, but she tries to play it cool. My mom drags me over, all smiles, and introduces her as my aunt, then points at this pint-sized girl named Jiang Luoli, the exact kid my parents have been begging me to marry. I just nod and say, "Aunt." She laughs it off, telling me to call her sister instead so she'd not feel ancient. Meanwhile, little Luoli is blushing hard, and everyone is whispering about how she is already totally whipped just because of my face. But across the room, some guy named Yi Xingyan is trembling with pure rage, looking like I just stole his lunch money. I could practically hear the gears grinding in Yi Xingyan's head. The guy is seething, thinking how unfair it is that I win just by showing up with a good jawline. Meanwhile, my cousin Jun Zhangjian is whispering to the others, thanking his lucky stars he decided to play nice with me. Beside him, Jun Zuhuang is staring at me too, trying to act all analytical and icy, but I can tell she is impressed. I am just standing there, wrapped in this glowing divine mist that keeps everyone guessing. But then I notice Jun Wanji in the corner giving me the absolute death stare. I get it, he had to claw for everything while I was born with a golden spoon. The jealousy is thick enough to cut with a knife, but the feast is starting, and I am still the main event. The princess of Great Shang looks at me with these puppy dog eyes and sighs that she is not even worthy of me. Of course that makes Yi Xingyan lose his mind even more. He mutters under his breath that I am probably all show and no substance, which gets his old servant sweating bullets, begging him to shut up. Meanwhile, my mom is oblivious to the drama, pushing little Jiang Luoli on me and dropping hints about wanting grandkids. I am literally sweating here. I might look like a teenager, but I am only 10 years old. Getting married now feels like a crime. My new sister Sheng Yi even starts teasing the kid, reminding Luoli how she swore she would rather jump off a cliff than agree to an arranged marriage, but now she cannot even look me in the eye. Luoli instantly puffs out her cheeks and starts shaking her head like crazy, denying everything. Classic move, if you do not admit it, it never happened. I can practically hear her brain doing backflips, realizing that maybe an arranged marriage is not so bad after all. But while we are having this moment, Yi Xingyan finally snaps. He slams his wine glass down with a loud slap, and the whole hall goes dead quiet. He stands up, puffs out his chest, and challenges me to a fight, calling it asking for guidance. Everyone looks at him like he is a total idiot. This is my 10-year-old birthday party, and this guy is trying to pick a fight over a girl who barely knows he exists. His old servant is trying to pull him back, but the kid is totally blinded by jealousy. I'm sitting at my family's banquet, and this kid Yi Xingyan is glaring like I ran over his dog. It was because Jiang Luoli was looking at me with puppy dog eyes, and his ego couldn't take it. He asks if he can spar, trying to sound polite so my grandpa doesn't vaporize him. The elders stay quiet because they want to see what I achieved after a year of seclusion. I look at him and ask who he even is. He says he's the Star King body. Great, a discount version of Yiguchen, the legendary sword guy who ends fights in one hit. This kid is a nobody, so I tell him I'm too weak and we should skip it. I was just being lazy, but the whole room goes dead silent. People actually started whispering, wondering if I was just a useless pretty boy. My cousin Jun Zhangjian was sweating bullets, probably thinking, if my strength is mediocre, then he should go faceplant into a block of tofu. But this kid didn't know any better. He got desperate because he wanted to flex in front of Jiang Luoli. He actually tells me he'll suppress his own power level to match mine, assuming a 10-year-old kid like me could only be at the Divine Palace level while he is already 17. I had to do the mental math. This guy really thought he was doing me a favor. I just sighed. I don't like humiliating people, but this clown was practically begging for a beatdown. Before I could even say anything, Jiang Luoli snapped at him, asking why he was pestering me. Yi Xingyan tries to speak, but his face turns green because Jiang Luoli is all over me, calling me brother Xiaoyao. She snaps at him. If you ruin his face, can you even pay for it? The poor bastard looked ready to choke, probably thinking, does being handsome let you do whatever you want? Well, yeah. I was speechless too. She is basically the president of the pretty boy fan club. I put one hand behind my back and told him, just make your move. Luoli got worried, but my aunt teased her about her future husband. Meanwhile, this Yi guy is fuming, suppressing his power. I told him no need to hold back. He refused, thinking I wanted an excuse. I sighed and activated my divine elephant prison suppressing force. After a year of seclusion, I had 40,000 giant elephant particles active. That is 400 million jin of raw power. Now, what does 400 million jin of force actually mean? Let's just say a single slap from me could flatten primordial mountains and punch through the stars. Inside my body, my golden holy blood started roaring like a tidal wave. This massive surge of energy burst out, forming a giant phantom of a primordial divine elephant hovering over me. I casually pushed my hand forward. It looked like the hand of an ancient god tearing open a new universe, making the whole hall shake and roar. Everyone at the banquet stood up with their mouths wide open. Yi Xingyan looked like he got struck by lightning, his face going pale as he screamed, "How is this possible?" He was petrified, realizing my strength wasn't plain at all, but he still snapped out of it and launched his star-plucking hand. So this kid, Yi Xingyan, decided he was done playing nice and went right for the throat. He whipped out this massive, glowing hand made of starlight, some flashy move only guys with the Star King body can pull off. Honestly, I didn't even blink. I just threw a casual, lazy palm strike. My golden energy flared up, shattered his starlight hand like cheap glass, and sent him flying. I heard his ribs crack as he skidded out the door. The whole room went dead silent, staring at me like I was a freak. I'm only 10 years old, and I just swatted a top-tier genius like an annoying fly. Jiang Luoli was basically drooling because I'm handsome and strong, while Jiang Shengyi realized my golden aura meant I had the legendary desolate ancient sacred body. Once my golden energy flared, every big shot in the room put two and two together. They started whispering about my desolate ancient sacred body, calling it a dead-end physique, like my family spent 90% of their budget just to break my shackles. People love to talk, right? Outside the hall, Yi Xingyun staggered back up, crying about how he wasn't prepared. I literally told him there was 0% chance of him winning, but he wouldn't listen. He threw this chaotic star finger move at me, gathering all this star power. Honestly, boring. I swatted it like a bug with another golden palm strike, then grabbed the air and conjured a spear burning with the hellfire of the underworld. That spear was my spear of the underworld god, and I threw it with 400 million caddies of raw force behind it. Do the math on that kinetic energy, it is absolutely ridiculous. The kid freaked out and pulled out this fancy starlight shield, but my spear went through it like wet cardboard, shattering it instantly. Seeing the absolute terror on his face was priceless. He desperately activated his trump card, using some black hole move to swallow my spear, but the recoil made him spit up blood. I figured it was time to wrap this up, so I summoned 10,000 golden weapons in the air, swords, spears, axes, you name it. The sheer pressure had everyone sweating bullets. Out of options, Yi Xingyun screamed and finally stopped holding back his cultivation. So he unleashes his full power, hitting the 5th layer of the true spirit realm. He thought he was doing something, but I just shrugged and let my own cultivation explode. Boom. 9th heaven of the true spirit realm, and I'm only 10. Everyone in the hall looked like they had just seen a ghost. Poor Yi Xingyun's face turned pale. I was younger, had a higher realm, and let's be real, I'm way better looking. The kid was crying inside. When our attacks collided, my sacred body crushed his Star King body, and his sternum shattered as he went flying out of the hall, like a broken rag doll. His old servant Uncle Fu rushed over, sighing in relief that his foundation wasn't ruined. But man, the look of pure defeat on his face was the cherry on top. So, my little fangirl Jiang Luoli is literally drooling over me, totally ignoring Yi Xingyun. The poor kid gets so mad his ego literally short-circuits, he spits blood and faints. From what I heard, while he's out, his mind drifts to some trippy cosmic star palace, but he blacks out before he can see anything. Back in the hall, it's dead silent. Everyone is shocked that a 10-year-old me just demolished a top prodigy without even wrinkling my white robes. Some old, white-bearded Daoist geezer starts preaching about how I'm destined to rewrite the history books, and the Princess of Great Shang murmurs that seeing me has ruined her for all other men. I could practically hear the hearts of every guy in the room shattering. They just couldn't take their eyes off me. Honestly, beating that kid was nothing to me. But his old servant Uncle Fu scrambled over looking absolutely terrified. He started making excuses, saying his master was just impulsive and meant no offense. I just gave him a polite smile and called it a simple sparring match. Simple? The poor kid was half dead on the floor, but hey, you gotta play the part. Uncle Fu's mouth twitched, but he thanked me for being merciful and dragged his boss away. Once they slinked off, I raised my wine cup to the crowd to apologize for the drama and downed it. Instantly, everyone in the hall stood up to toast me back. Well, everyone except one guy. The 5th sequence Jun Wanji. He just sat there, eyes full of crackling lightning, staring at me like he wanted to pick a fight. So this 5th sequence guy just watched me wreck Yi Xingyun, and my power totally blew his mind. I noticed him lurking classic cliché story where the underdog finds a cheat code, gets lightning powers, and becomes a big shot. As long as he stays in his lane, I don't care. Meanwhile, Jiang Luoli is giving me these starry, lovesick eyes, gushing about how cool I was. I just sipped my tea and played it cool. I'm not trying to entertain a little kid, even if my desolate ancient sacred body's specs are off the charts. But my mom immediately tries to lock down a marriage right there. Luoli turns bright red, and I literally choke on my tea, trying to swallow it to save face while my mom acts like I'm the crazy one. So I looked down at Jiang Luoli and teased her for being barely 4'11". Her eyes popped right out of her head. Mind you, she is 12, 2 years older than me, but she barely reaches my chest. It is a hilarious height difference, but she did not find it funny. She got this devious look, puffed her cheeks, and sank her teeth into my arm to try and leave a permanent mark on me. Well, bad move. I hear a loud crack and she starts crying, clutching her mouth. She literally chipped her tooth on me. I asked her if she was a dog, since she knows my body is basically a divine weapon. So I grabbed her and gave her a solid smack on the rear. You have to teach these bratty kids a lesson. She just froze there, staring at me in absolute disbelief. My aunt Shengyi froze up, but my mom? Proud as hell, wearing that is my boy look. Everyone else in the room awkwardly looked away. Good thing that clown Yi Xingyun was already knocked out and dragged away. Or seeing me grab his goddess's waist would have literally killed him. I figured I should probably let her go, so I did. Luoli turned red as a beet, whimpering as she buried her face in Shengyi's chest like an ostrich. Shengyi rolled her eyes at me. But that glare actually made me notice her energy fluctuation. Wait, is she really an innate Dao fetus? If you combine that with my desolate ancient sacred body, you get the legendary innate sacred body Dao fetus. Before I could overthink it, my granddad Zanchin stepped up, cleared his throat, and told the crowd we had one more massive announcement. So my granddad, Jun Zanchin, gets dead serious and drops the ultimate bomb on everyone. I'm the new Zero sequence, a spot right above our 10 elite prodigies. The hall went dead quiet, their brains completely melting. My cousins, Zhang Jian and Su Huang, literally jumped out of their seats, and the 5th sequence guy looked ready to bite a nail in half. See, the only other guy to hold this title was my dad, the legendary white-clothed god king, Jun Wuhui. This news is gonna blow the minds of everyone in the Huangshan immortal domain. Being the Zero sequence means I'm the designated future boss of the family. Zhang Jian was shocked but not salty. He's fought me, he knows I'm just built different. He realized I didn't even need to compete for a spot, I was born for this. My cousin Zhu Huang was totally flabbergasted, staring at me like I grew a second head. Meanwhile, the 5th sequence guy was practically grinding his teeth to dust, fists clenched so tight his knuckles were white. In his head, he was throwing a massive temper tantrum. Why does this kid get everything on a silver platter while I had to crawl through glass? Honestly, I get his anger, but life is unfair. Granddad was loving the drama, grinning because this was exactly the hype he wanted before sending me out into the world. With me holding both the Divine San title and the Zero sequence rank, nobody would dare mess with me. Even little Jiang Luoli was swooning, though she still muttered about how I spanked her bottom and called her short. So my cousin Luoli is playing hard to get, acting annoyed, but she can't resist. Let's face it, with my looks, background, and power I'm unrivaled, and she's falling fast. Even my mom got teary, whispering to my late dad about me becoming the Zero sequence. But of course some punk has to ruin the moment. The 5th sequence speaks up, asking my grandpa if I've ever fought in the trials, made family contributions, or slain 6 generals to earn this rank. Grandpa has to say no, I mean, I'm 10, how could I? That's 0 world travel hours, do the math. Grandpa's voice is getting icy, and honestly, if this kid wasn't family, he'd have been slapped into next week. Meanwhile, I'm just watching this, face totally expressionless, but ready to fight if this guy doesn't know his place. So this loudmouth trash-talking me was our family's 5th sequence. If I just smacked him, it would look bad for our reputation, right? The guy jumps up, lightning practically shooting out of his eyes, yelling about why the hell I got the Zero sequence title. The whole room goes dead silent, even my granddad, Jun Zanchin, is speechless. That is when I step up, cool as hell in my white robes, looking like some immortal. I tell him, listen, the 18th ancestor gave me this spot because he trusts me. With me here, why would we ever worry about not producing a great emperor? I said it with so much attitude the sky literally started rumbling. All these snobby guests just froze, and the old-timers started whispering about how this generation's path to the top was about to get wild. Honestly, all the girls in the crowd were swooning. Even the princess of Great Shang was sighing like she was in some romance movie. And Jiang Luoli literally had drool on her chin, totally forgetting she is supposed to be a classy lady. I did not care though. I just looked down at the 5th sequence and asked him, "You satisfied with that answer?" He choked, completely shut down by my energy. Right then, this old voice from deep inside our compound echoed a single word, "Good." Everyone freaked. My granddad was practically shaking, whispering that it was the 18th ancestor. The old man had not spoken since the day I was born, so him backing my confidence was huge. The 5th sequence knew he was done. He mumbled some quick excuse, gave me a death glare, and bolted. So this 5th sequence guy number 5 in our family was a total pain in the neck. Super arrogant, but hey, at least he wasn't completely brain dead. He knew that fighting me at my own party would make our whole clan look like clowns. As he walked away, I could feel his cold stare burning holes in my back. I muttered to myself that if he tried playing stupid games like that Xiao Chen kid did, I'd flatten him, family or not. Once he cleared out, the hall warmed up again. Zhu Huang raised her glass with a polite, if slightly jealous, smile, and I toasted her back. Then Zhang Jian stood up, calling me Divine San with total respect. He knew the deal. With my new Zero sequence title, nobody in the family could touch my status, not even the heavy hitters currently training out in the wild. Honestly, I wasn't sweating those other sequences. With my talent, I can handle whatever. But as the banquet rolled on, I was busy wondering why my Chiode system hadn't pinged me to sign in yet. Then, out of nowhere, some loudmouth outside starts mocking my strength, asking if the new Divine San is all talk. Everyone in the hall froze. I mean, who has the balls to crash my 10th day party like that? We all look up, and there's a massive winged dragon in the sky. The guys on it have horns and scales, definitely not human. Up front is this punk in a golden robe with dragon horns, looking incredibly smug. Someone whispers that it's the dragon's son from the ancestral dragon nest. They are basically our mortal enemies, and they definitely didn't show up to eat cake. I'd heard about these guys from my grandfather. We absolutely hate each other. They've got this genius named Long Ocean who's been bullying our younger crowd, but we've chopped up plenty of their prodigies too. Heck, my dad made his name by slaughtering one of their big shots back in the day. My grandfather was looking pretty ticked off, since we obviously didn't invite these Gata crashers. Then their dragon's son, Long Ocean, sneers and asks if we're too chicken to let them in. My cousins were fuming, but I just stood there, totally chill, and told my granddad to let them in because they're just a bunch of little loaches. The crowd gasped, and that dragon kid's eyes went cold. He wanted to ruin my birthday, but he had no idea what he was walking into. My dad, Jun Woohui, back when he was just a saint, literally tore one of those ancestral dragon nest quasi-supremes apart with his bare hands. Naturally, those scaled idiots became the laughingstock of the entire Huangshan domain. So of course their star boy dragon son Long Ocean wanted payback by trampling me. He had some serious confidence too, having fused with some crazy dragon essence, making him think he was top dog. My grandpappy, Jun Janshin, just waved them right in. Along with him were these royal clan tagalongs who were absolutely shaking in their boots, using Hyoshin as a meat shield. But as my eyes scanned the crowd, I spotted a very familiar face. It was some girl in a blue dress, staring at me with pure hatred. My cousin Jun Zhangjian practically choked on his own tongue. Now, you gotta understand, Zhangjian had kicked this chick out of our family a while back. So seeing her clinging to the lizard boy was a total shock. Hyoshin, being the smug bastard he is, decides to rub it in. He grabs her chin, looking right at my cousin, and goes, "She is my slave now, ain't that right?" And she actually nods like a good little dog. Zhangjian was ready to blow a fuse. He had spared her life out of pity, and this is how she repays him, by bringing our rivals to our doorstep. I looked over at our family elders, and their faces were turning a lovely shade of purple. If Zhangjian did not fix this, his standing was toast. That is when I decided to step in. I looked at the dragon's son and said, "Man, I didn't know you had a hobby of picking up worn-out shoes that we threw away." Oh man, you should have seen his face. He turned this amazing shade of sour grape green. He realized I just called him a garbage collector in front of everyone. Lan Qingya looked like she was about to throw up, shaking like a leaf. Just like that, the tables turned, and the crowd was quietly snickering. Zhangjian looked at me like I just saved his life. I just shrugged and told him, "Hey, we are family, do not sweat it." But I could see in his eyes he was ready to jump through brick walls for me now. Even the girls, Xuhuang and Luoli, were looking at me with starry eyes. Hyoshin, completely losing his cool, sneered that all I had was a quick mouth. Lan Qingya chimed in too, talking trash about my sacred body, thinking her new scaly boyfriend would protect her. I looked at her like the absolute bug she was. Honestly, she was already dead to me, she just had not caught up to the fact yet. So I figured, why wait? I raised my hand, and my golden energy exploded, shaping into this massive palm aimed right at her skull. Everyone gasped. They did not think I would actually pull the trigger right there. Hyoshin tried to jump in, but I just laughed. When I want someone dead, nobody stops me. I unleashed my weapon's art, a literal storm of flying blades and spears slamming right into his face. It sent him flying back, his arms shaking from the impact. Before he could even recover, my golden palm slammed down on Lan Qingya. She let out this tiny, pathetic scream before she was turned into paste. The crunch was loud and her blood splattered all over his shiny armor. Talk about jaw-dropping silence. Nobody expected me to just casually slap that Lan Qingya girl into a red puddle of minced meat right in front of the dragon's son. 1 second she was a pretty face, the next she was just a gruesome mess on the floor. My casual strike even pushed Long Hyoshin back, which got the old-timers whispering about how ruthless and awesome I was. No mercy, even for a woman, that's how a real divine son rolls. Meanwhile, this dragon kid is standing there looking absolutely shocked, trying to hide that his arms are literally shaking from the impact. He couldn't believe my physical body was this strong, even with my sacred body. Then, a few of his little monster psychics stepped up, crying about how I pulled a cowardly sneak attack on them. So there we are, and these primordial royal clan trust fund babies are desperately trying to make excuses for their golden boy, Long Hyoshin. After I just embarrassed him, they start chirping, and my cousin, Jun Zhangjian, immediately loses his mind. He draws his sword, looking like an anime protagonist with his hair blowing in the wind, screaming about how these peasants aren't fit to breathe the same air as me. To be fair, I did him a solid recently, so he was just returning the favor. Then Zhuo Huang steps up, looking ice cold, basically telling them they don't have the paperwork to act tough in our house. Next thing you know, this massive beast named Niu Dingshan, who literally has black horns sticking out of his head, steps up to test me. Zhang Jian doesn't even let him finish his sentence before launching a sword strike right at his face. So, there I was at my own 10th birthday bash, just watching the drama unfold. This winged chick from the feathered clan tries to flex, but my cousin Jun Zhuo Huang instantly shuts her down. She ice spells the whole place while my other cousin, Zhang Jian, unleashes 9 glowing swords that rip a monster to shreds. The crowd of guests is absolutely losing their minds, whispering about how our family is just built different. They are doing the math out loud, pointing out that Zhang Jian is only ranked 10th among our young elites and Zhuo Huang is 7th, yet they are effortlessly crushing these so-called prodigies. And of course, everyone is staring at me, the legendary divine son, wondering what kind of monster I am if my cousins are already this crazy strong. Meanwhile, I am just watching this guy, Long Haoxian, the so-called dragon son. His face is turning this ugly shade of purple, because he came here specifically to embarrass me. But instead, his entire crew is getting absolutely slaughtered, while I'm just sipping my drink. My cousin Zhang Jian activates his special sword body, and literally cuts a massive bull monster named Niu Dingshan clean in half. Then Zhuo Huang summons this gorgeous snow lotus that looks nice but actually freezes everything it touches, throwing it right at that winged girl. Just as the chick is about to become a permanent ice sculpture, Haoxian finally loses his cool. He leaps into the air and summons this massive, glowing golden dragon claw, some secret family technique they call the dragon intercepting hand. So this massive golden claw completely shatters Zhuo Huang's ice lotus and keeps going, aiming straight for her chest. Zhang Jian screams for her to watch out, but he is too slow. Even Zhuo Huang freezes up because this dragon guy is actually playing for keeps, and she cannot dodge it. So, what do? I move, I speed over and put myself right in front of her. Boom! The dragon claw hits me dead on, right in the center of my chest. Dust flies everywhere, the ground shakes, and the entire hall goes completely silent. Everyone is staring at me, probably thinking the birthday boy just got himself killed. They all know this move has slaughtered dozens of top-tier fighters. Poor Zhuo Huang looks like she is about to faint from the guilt of letting the family hope get wrecked. Look, my family and friends are absolutely losing their minds. My little friend Jiang Luoli is screaming my name, my mom is turning white, and everyone is panicking because they think the golden boy of the family is done for. The crowd is muttering about how my 10th birthday is about to turn into a funeral. But then, this old Taoist priest squinted his eyes and realized something was way off. Usually, you take a hit like that and you go flying, spitting blood everywhere. Me? I did not even flinch. I just stood there, looking down at this dragon kid with absolute boredom. He is the one who looks completely terrified. His hand is still pressed against my chest, and he looks like he just punched a solid block of primordial metal. My body did not budge, but his hand is vibrating in pain. Look, you gotta understand, this guy was from the dragon clan. Around here, everyone knows those dragon boys have peerless bodies. They are basically walking tanks. But there I was, just standing there letting him wail on me, and he couldn't even leave a scratch. I tilted my head and asked if that was all he had. The guy turned red as a brick and accused me of faking. Pure denial. I just laughed, grabbed his hitting arm, and let 40,000 giant elephant particles erupt. That is 400 million caddies of raw force. One quick twist, and rip, off came the arm. Dragon blood sprayed everywhere while he backed up screaming, and the whole crowd went dead silent. Even the old Taoist sect leader had to admit I did not have a single scratch. So, everyone is staring at me like I am some kind of absolute freak of nature. In this whole damn immortal domain, barely anyone can take a direct hit from this dragon boy's ultimate move, but I didn't even get a scratch. My cousin Zhuo Huang looked at me like I was her savior. I just told her, look, step back and let me handle this little loach. She actually listened, acting more like my maid than a proud warrior. Meanwhile, Long Haoxian is holding his bloody stump, looking totally rattled. What he didn't know is that I'd already absorbed some dragon energy earlier, giving me built-in scale armor. I didn't even have to try. But then, his severed arm starts wiggling and grows right back. Everyone was just staring with their mouths wide open. Everyone started whispering, wondering if this guy had some kind of cheat code immortal body. Then someone mentioned he had fused with a dragon origin. Oh, really? Now that sounded like a prize. I looked at him the way a guy looks at a juicy steak. That absolutely set him off. He yelled something about me courting death and threw this massive punch. The whole sky started shaking, and a giant glowing dragon came screaming right at me. I'll admit, the move had some kick to it, and the crowd was practically wetting themselves. But I just smiled. I started forming my own hand seals, letting my golden energy explode. Suddenly, this massive, towering figure appeared right behind me, making everyone gasp as their hair stood on end. That massive shadow behind me, that is the Human King seal, a high-tier move from my family archives. Honestly, with my genius brain, mastering it was a complete walk in the park. As I threw the seal, the whole world seemed to bow down. It felt like I was some ancient god tossing around planets. Long Hyochian's glowing dragon fist slammed right into my seal, and the collision was like two massive stars smashing into each other. The shockwave was so crazy it almost blew the roof off the place, but my grandfather stepped in and sealed the space with one hand. That is the power of a saint-level expert for you. While they all watched in awe, the crazy energy was just churning inside that barrier like a storm. When the dust cleared, guess who was coughing up blood? Yep, our resident dragon boy. He was shaking like a leaf, and the arm he just regenerated was split wide open and bleeding again. Turns out, even with that fancy dragon origin, you can't just spawn limbs forever. He looked at me, totally speechless, finally realizing he had messed with the wrong 10-year-old. Meanwhile, there I was, keeping one hand behind my back, looking pristine in my white robes like some legendary immortal. I wasn't even sweating. Little Luoli was practically drooling, and all the other girls in the crowd had hearts in their eyes. Long Hyochian looked like he had just eaten dirt. He came here to crush me, but instead he got thrashed. Still, I could tell he wasn't ready to give up yet. So there I was, and you would not believe it, but this clown Long Hyochian starts glowing. He literally forces a breakthrough right in front of me, jumping from true spirit straight to the divine bridge realm. That means he is building a spiritual highway in his body, hooking his gut to his brain, which increases his power output by, 3 or 4 times. He starts screaming that it is all my fault he had to ruin his foundation and pop his dragon yuan early just to keep up. He went from wanting to humble me to straight up trying to murder me. Then he yells out true dragon imprisoning heaven art, and this crazy, blazing energy erupts like he is some unshackled dragon. I am just standing there, watching him do all this extra prep work. Honestly, even the old-timers in the crowd were shivering. See, this move is an offshoot of the true dragon great divine ability, which is basically the holy grail of their clan. A massive dragon phantom starts wrapping around him and roars, its claws scraping against the sky, turning the air into absolute static. Everyone on my side was sweating bullets. My cousins, my aunt, even my grandfather had his hand on his sword, ready to jump in and save my skin. This scaly punk is yelling at me to prepare to die, looking like he already won. And me? I was just standing there thinking, okay, this is actually kind of interesting. I did not even blink. When you are built different, a giant glowing lizard claw is just another Tuesday. Right when I was about to unleash my sacred body to blow this kid away, a mechanical ding goes off in my head. My system finally woke up and asked if I wanted to sign in at my 10th year banquet. I was starting to think the thing was broken, but talk about perfect timing. I hit sign in and bam, congratulations, you just got a 7-star reward, the Supreme Bone. Suddenly my chest starts glowing like a miniature sun, bursting with this crazy power. For context, the Supreme Bone is a top 30 talent. Even without my sacred body, having just this bone would let me wipe the floor with anyone. As this bright energy started tearing through the air, the kids in the crowd literally started dropping to their knees, shaking like leaves. My luck is pretty ridiculous, not gonna lie. The aura was so heavy it felt like a god just walked into the room. This old Daoist from the Daoji sect lost his mind, yelling about the Supreme Bone with his eyes popping out like dinner plates. Honestly, who could blame him? Having the ancient sacred body and the Supreme Bone in one guy is basically cheating. My own family was staring at me like I was an alien. They had no idea either. Meanwhile, Long Hyochian is mid-charge, and his little dragon eyes go completely wide. His spy, Lan Qingya, had totally failed to mention this minor detail. Unlike my sacred body, which people call outdated, the Supreme Bone is always top tier. But instead of backing off like a smart guy, he doubles down, yelling that he will kill me anyway. Talk about a bad mathematical calculation on his part. The guy still had backing, so he figured if he could just kill me, any price was worth paying. He poured all his strength into his true dragon prison art, sending a massive, lifelike dragon claw tearing through the air right at me. I just stood there smiling. I was gonna use my ancient sacred body, but then I thought, let's test out this Supreme Bone instead. I tapped into my golden spiritual sea, flooding my chest with mana. Boom, this blinding, multicolored light exploded out of me like a second sun, shaking the sky and vaporizing the clouds. The kids in the crowd were shaking, ready to drop to their knees, and even the old-timers gasped. It was my bone's first big trick, the heaven's tribulation light, and the look of sheer terror on his face was worth every second. So, our moves smash right into each other. His fancy dragon technique stood absolutely zero chance against my heaven's tribulation light. It was like a laser cutting through cardboard, erasing his little dragon spirit before heading straight for him. The guy panicked, tried to grow gold scales and jump out of the way, but you cannot outrun the speed of light, buddy. It caught him. Half his torso and one arm got sliced clean off, dragon blood spraying everywhere. I did not even blink. I sprouted my devil wings, dropped down, grabbed his remaining arm, and ripped it off with my bare hands. The whole place went dead silent. Some old geezers in the back started whispering, asking if tearing dragons apart was just a family business of ours. They were all murmuring about how I was just like my old man, keeping the family legacy alive. Meanwhile, that feathered tribe girl was shaking like a leaf, looking like she had seen a ghost. I looked down at Haoshin like he was a prime cut of steak. He started backing up, screaming at me, asking how I dared to do this. I just laughed. What is there that I do not dare to do? I raised my hand, golden mana surging like a tide, ready to end him and take his dragon energy. Everyone gasped, realizing I was actually going to kill this guy, which would start a massive war. But before I could deliver the final blow, this booming, angry voice echoed from the sky, calling me a junior. Suddenly, a massive, scaly black dragon claw tore through the clouds, putting a heavy pressure on the whole place. Turns out this big heavy hitter was a quasi-supreme. Now, that is basically one step below a full-blown supreme, a total heavyweight in this world. The crowd finally realized why this scaly bastard was so cocky. He had a massive bodyguard lurking in the shadows. Haoshin actually smiled, thinking he was saved and could get his payback later. The crowd recognized the giant claw as Yulong Supreme, a notorious black dragon who once went toe-to-toe with a human supreme. This old lizard looked down at me, telling me to stop being so ruthless and let things end here. Oh, how convenient. His kid comes to my house to pick a fight, gets absolutely wrecked, and now this fossil wants to just sweep it under the rug and take him home. Look, trying to kill me on my own family's turf is a fairy tale. Even if a real supreme showed up, they could not touch me here. Haoshin knew it, but he still glared at me with pure venom, utterly humiliated that he needed his grandpa lizard to save him. I just smirked at him. What, I asked? Are you gonna give me some cliché speech about how the tables will turn in 30 years? He spat back that his older brother, Long Haoshin, would destroy me. He did not even dare talk about taking revenge himself because my ancient sacred body and supreme bone absolutely terrified him. I told him he would not live to see that day, slammed my hand down to crush him, and he lost his mind screaming. Above us, Yulong roared in fury, sending his giant claw smashing through our sky defenses. So, there I was, standing my ground while this massive, pitch-black dragon claw rips through the sky, shattering our defensive runes like cheap glass. You might be wondering why my family was so chill, but Yulong Supreme was just trying to rescue his little dragon boy, Long Haoshin. Everyone else is losing their minds, looking at my grandpa and the elders like, why are you guys just standing there with smug grins? But me? I ignored the pressure he aimed at me, materialized my spear of the underworld god, and chucked it straight through Haoshin's chest. I popped my devil's wings, caught up, and slapped him so hard his bones turned to mush. To seal the deal, I landed a stomp powered by 40,000 giant elephant particles right on his chest. What a mess. With his last breath, the kid gasps out that his big brother is going to get me. Then he kicks the bucket, eyes wide open like he still couldn't believe it. Yulong Supreme never expected me to move that fast. He goes absolutely ballistic, roaring so hard the ground starts splitting open. Guests are literally getting pinned to the dirt by his aura, but I'm just standing there with my hands behind my back, looking cool as a cucumber. That's when a voice booms from our estate, mocking him. It was our 18th ancestor. Next thing you know, this insanely bright sword beam shoots out, ripping open a massive black rift in the sky. One clean cut, and Yulong Supreme's giant, scaly arm comes crashing down, dripping blood everywhere. Talk about a slice of humble pie. The dragon guy tries to act tough as he retreats, yelling that we will pay for this. But our 18th ancestor just replies, if you have already come, why do you not just stay forever? Then he lets loose two more massive sword beams. Yulong starts crying about us starting an immortal war, but my ancestor is just like, so what if we do? When has the Jun family ever been scared of anyone? 2 quick slashes later, a massive shower of black blood rains down, and this giant dragon corpse falls from the sky like a dead god. 3 swords and a top-tier quasi-supreme is history. Every guest at my 10th birthday banquet was speechless. These guys can usually start empires, and we just swatted him like a fly. So, My family's 18th ancestor literally dog-walked a quasi-supreme in 3 hits. Some kid in the crowd looked like he was gonna puke, whispering about our ancestral hall being full of living fossils. Honestly, he's not wrong. One of our old heads steps out, and the whole immortal domain shakes. We even had a great emperor back in the day, Jun Kishin, the guy who walked away from the heavens. Right on cue, the sky starts crying bloody rain because a big shot died. Then the ancestor teleports his voice to my head, telling me to swing by after the banquet. I bowed, but my mind was on his slaughtering immortal sword art. I need to learn that. With the dragon trash dead, I noticed this shaking bird girl from the Feather clan. She only survived because the dragon prince blocked for her. Lucky her. Now this Feather clan girl is totally losing her mind, literally wet herself right there on the floor. She actually thought the dragon prince was gonna crush me, but watching me tear him apart with my bare hands gave her a front row seat to her own worst nightmare. I looked down at her and said, "Time to join your friends." She starts begging, crying, offering to be my slave. Sure, she's got the angelic bird girl look going on and would fetch a fortune at an auction, but I just laughed. Even a royal princess is barely qualified to scrub my floors, so what makes this bird think she's special? One slap, and she's history. While the guests are sweating bullets, my grandpa and the elders casually drag the dragon's corpse over, light some divine fire and start a barbecue. Yeah, we are eating quasi-supreme dragon tonight. Look, normal people wouldn't dare touch this meat. They're terrified the dragon clan will flatten their sex. But my family, we don't care. I told everyone to dig in, and my cousin Jiang Luoli was practically bouncing off the walls. Even as a spoiled rich kid, she doesn't get to eat elite dragon steak every day. Before I took a bite, though, I had to loot the boss. I walked over to the dragon prince's body and extracted his raw dragon essence. Since he hadn't fully digested it, it popped out like a glowing golden ball, with a tiny dragon roaring inside. I laughed and unleashed my divine elephant technique. A pitch-black furnace materialized over my head, looking so terrifying that the other kids thought their souls were getting sucked in. After a year of quiet training, my power is on a whole different level now. I already have ultimate defense and speed, so I pull out my 4th form, the Hell Furnace. It is basically a cosmic blender that refines anything. I took this chunk of dragon essence, the raw life force of a dragon powerhouse that some chump named Long Heochin could barely handle, and swallowed it whole. For me, piece of cake. Zero chance of blowing up my ancient sacred body. But the second I did, my energy spiked so hard the sky started screaming. Giant black clouds rolled in, thunder boomed, and everyone at my party lost their minds. They are staring at me like, wait, is this 10-year-old kid really about to break through again? Even my grandpa, Jun Janchin, was sweating, knowing the universe hates my overpowered body. You and I both know that when you have an ancient sacred body, the universe basically treats you like a cheat code and tries to delete you whenever you level up. Moving to the Divine Bridge realm is a huge jump, so the sky went totally ballistic. Everyone at the party is whispering, saying I'm in deep trouble because this lightning could disintegrate normal geniuses. My grandpa and the elders immediately step up, ready to shield me. But I just looked at them, completely chill, and told my grandpa to stand down and let me handle this little sparkler show. Their jaws hit the floor. Right then, a massive flood of lightning comes screaming down to raise me. I just float up, raise my hand and summon my hell furnace right back. Time to see what this thunder tastes like. This flood of lightning slams into my hell melting furnace, and my body starts vibrating like crazy. But instead of turning to ash, my golden blood pumps, and this massive phantom of a primordial divine elephant erupts behind me, sucking down thunder like a protein shake. I actually yelled for those 100,000 lightning tribulations to forge my immortal body. Everyone watched me like I was a monster. Normally guys are crying during a tribulation, but I was using it for muscle fuel. My grandpa and the clan elders shook their heads, looking like their life work just got invalidated, and the other prodigies looked ready to give up on life. Finally, I just slapped my hand forward, the storm shattered, and man, the upgrades I walked away with were beautiful. First off, my cultivation broke straight through to the late Divine Bridge realm. Let me do the math for you. Normally, you crawl through early and middle stages to build that bridge. Then you got Unity, Dao integration, Nirvana, Heaven reaching, and Divine Fire before you even sniffed the Saint realm. I am only 10, and I am already sitting at late Divine Bridge, while kids my age are still playing in the dirt. That dragon chump Long Heochin barely squeezed in by cheating with dragon essence. Plus, I used that lightning to unlock another 10,000 colossal elephant particles inside me. That puts my physical power at a cool 500 million caddies. Normal prodigies max out at a few million, I also noticed my supreme bone is eating up that energy too, meaning I need to feed it way more in the future. Both my ancient sacred body and supreme bone are bottomless pits. They eat up treasures like black holes. Thank God I reincarnated into a top-tier ancient family. If I was in a minor clan, I would have bankrupted them by lunch. While I was scheming for more resources, this smart girl Jiang Luoli brought me a plate of roasted dragon meat from that dead quasi-supreme. She was batting her eyes, trying to look cute, so I just nodded, took a bite, and ate as elegantly as possible. The meat was pure fire, and my chest bone was inhaling it. It made me think about preparing for the next sign-in at the Yuanqian Supreme Treasury. Plus, I wonder if that Xiao Chengai has any more value for me to squeeze out. Now that my birthday party is over, I can finally explore the world. I just hope I do not get too bored out there. My 10th birthday party wrapped up after all that madness, and the guests left looking like they had seen ghosts. I treated their top prodigies like wet cardboard, and the older generation was sweating bullets thinking I would pass them in a few years. My cousins did some solid work too, but the real showstopper was our 18th ancestor. This ancient dude, who has been sleeping in our ancestral hall forever, took out a quasi-supreme with just 3 sword strikes. That got everyone shaking. Far away in Hong Province, the giant dragons were throwing a temper tantrum, roaring so loud stars were literally dropping. The locals had no idea why their supreme was so pissed, but inside their nest, they were losing their minds, screaming about how I killed their precious dragon son and needed to be executed. Let them cry. While I was busy being awesome, those snake-loving losers over at the ancestral dragon nest were totally losing their minds. They couldn't believe my relative, Jun 18, basically threatened to turn them into luggage. They were desperately pinning all their hopes on this guy named Long Ocean, who was apparently absorbing 7 dragon cores just to come take me out. Good luck with that, bud. Meanwhile, that kid Yi Xingyun finally woke up in his flying carriage, groaning like a kicked puppy. He was absolutely dying of embarrassment because I trashed him in front of his dream girl. His servant, Uncle Fu, then drops the real bomb on him. He tells him that I also have a supreme bone, meaning I didn't even try when I beat his ass. Talk about a massive blow to the ego. Knowing I didn't even take him seriously must have burned Yi Xingyun's soul. But instead of accepting he is just average, the guy starts having these weird delusions. He gets a blurry memory of some giant star palace and immediately thinks he's the reincarnation of some ancient emperor, dreaming of rising from the ashes to steal back his goddess, Jiang Luoli. It is hilarious, honestly. While this dude is planning his imaginary anime comeback, Luoli is actually glued to my side. She was supposed to go home to her family, but instead, she is acting like a clingy puppy, asking me, "Big brother Xiaoyao, do you need a maid to pour your tea?" Meanwhile, my actual maid, Jun Linglong, has to stand there and remind her, hello? Linglong is literally right here. Then the girls started teasing me, asking if I needed a maid to fold my blankets or, warm up my bed. I coughed, totally embarrassed, and it got worse when my own mom started pressuring me to get married. I noped out of there real quick, using the 18th ancestor as my get-out-of-jail-free card. After dodging my little fangirl Luoli, I made it to our ancestral grounds. The old man was floating in the void, surrounded by collapsing stars and wild cosmic phenomena. He's a total beast, and we have 17 more just like him. He actually smiled at me, praising how I wrecked Yi Xingyun and ripped that dragon apart. When I calmly asked why he called me over, he looked even more impressed by my chill attitude. Honestly, you gotta keep your cool when dealing with family legends. So listen, with this crazy setup I got the ancient sacred body fused with the supreme bone. My raw talent was off the charts. But what really blew people away was how chill and collected I was for a 10-year-old kid. My 18th ancestor looks at me, grins, and asks if I want to learn the slaughtering immortal sword art. My eyes went wide. I had been obsessing over this technique. It is the same one that literally swiped a quasi-supreme out of existence in 3 hits. The old man tells me it is one of the 5 elite divine arts in the world, hidden away because normal people would waste decades just trying to learn the basic stance. Luckily, I am no ordinary kid. He hands over the secrets, showing me the first 2 moves, Immortal Fall and Immortal Annihilation. Then he drops the final move on me, Slaughtering Immortal, which fuses your spirit and body together. The old man tells me, with a smug little grin, that if I can master just the first move in 3 years, I will be a complete success. I just nodded, but inside? I was laughing. 3 years. Come on, I do not have that kind of time. He hesitates and says that once I hit 18, he will tell me the crazy family secrets, plus what happened to my dad, Jun Wuhui, the legendary white-clothed god king who vanished into thin air. Anyway, The ancestor spent a whole year mastering this sword art back in his day, which was apparently a record. Well, cut to 3 months later, and I am standing in the ancestral land, raising my hand as this wild, golden magic power starts to surge out of me. I pressed my fingers together like a blade, and this blinding sword light burst out, with illusions of gods and immortals swirling around me. The slash was so intense it split the clouds in half, shaking the void and sending shockwaves that had the family elders panicking, thinking the ancestor was starting a war. When they realized it was me executing the first move after only 3 months, they lost their minds. My ancestor just stared, totally frozen. I sighed and said, man, 3 months for the first move. This technique is brutally slow. I was not trying to flex, but usually it takes me under a week to master anything. The old man just coughed and said he wanted to crawl back into his coffin and nap. I left him to his crisis and headed back, glad that clingy kid Jiang Luoli had finally gone home. Walking into the Heavenly Emperor Palace, I found my grandpa, Jun Jianqian, waiting for me. He asked if I had learned the sword art yet, and I shrugged, saying I had barely managed the first move. He looked at me like I was a straight-up freak of nature. Then he mentioned he never expected me to be hiding a supreme bone. I kept my face totally blank, but secretly, I was laughing. I got that bone from a system sign-in, but hey, it works like a charm. Grandpa then explained that having 2 top-tier physiques means double the grind, especially the ancient sacred body, which has 6 major phenomena. He told me he knew a spot to speed up unlocking my second one, the Panwu Divine Dynasty, apparently founded by an emperor who also had the sacred body. Just as he said that, the system chimed in my head, telling me a new check-in spot was ready. Right after the chaos, my system pings me with a new check-in location, the Panwu Mausoleum. I kept my cool, but inside I was like, are you kidding me? That place belongs to the Panwu Divine Dynasty. They do not just let random tourists walk in. When I asked my grandfather about it, he just shrugged and said, well, if they do not invite you, we can always just crash the gate. I swear, the arrogance in my family is genetic. Still, Great Emperor Panwu had the ancient sacred body, so getting in there could save me a ton of trial and error. I spent the next year grinding inside the Heavenly Emperor Palace to prep for what was coming next. Before I knew it, I was 11 years old, though I already looked 15. Look, I am ridiculously good looking, so transcendent it makes other guys feel bad just looking at me. This past year, I reached the great perfection of the Divine Bridge realm. I mastered the second form of the slaughtering immortal sword art, and my supreme bone evolved to give me the hand of the heavens. After digesting the dragon essence, I unlocked another 20,000 giant elephant particles, putting me at 70,000, that is 700 million caddies of raw force. I got some cool dragon skills, but man, training gets boring. I started missing Xiao Chen, wondering if my favorite little green patch of chives was ripe yet. Meanwhile, way out in Kunzu, a harsh, bandit-ridden wasteland, young cultivators were arriving for trials. Meanwhile, deep in some sketchy mountain range in Kunzu, my boy Xiao Chen was busy trying to look tough. He yells out some ridiculous move, Azure Dragon Heaven Tearing Hand, sprouts half-dragon wings, and rips apart a wild beast. Remember, it had been 3 years since I absolutely wrecked his meridians and kicked him out of my family's place. But the kid actually turned his bad luck around, using some dragon art to reach the middle stage of the Divine Bridge realm. His little grandpa ghost mentor was hyping him up, and Xiao Chen was eating it up, bragging about how the tables would turn and how he was going to show me who the real joke was. He was even planning to make his ex regret leaving him, but right as he was daydreaming, something started moving nearby. So I'm out in the wild, and Master Qinglong zips back into my ring, warning me something's going down. I creep over, and my eyes lock onto this girl in a silk skirt and a white veil, running from some real scumbags. Turns out they're the demonic wolf bandits, local Kunzo thugs. The boss is a Unity Realm jerk laughing like a cheap movie villain, but she can't fight back because using her magic would let her guardians track her. I jump out, yell get your hands off her, and go full Azure Dragon. Scales rip across my skin, wings pop from my back, and my punch literally vaporizes the boss into a red mist. His buddies freak out, screaming, where'd this idiot come from? I tear through them like a storm. She's seen plenty of rich sect prodigies, but a guy like me? Totally caught her off guard. See, I don't act like those arrogant, trust fund prodigies from the big sects, so she immediately felt safe with me. Once I finished the bandits, Master Qinglong chimed in. He said she had some crazy treasure blocking his senses, meaning she was a high-tier princess from a massive immortal family. If I played my cards right, she could help me destroy that smug divine son of the Jun family. Look, I'm no sleazebag who uses people, but to get revenge on Jun Xiaoyao and erase the shame from 3 years ago, I'll do whatever it takes. I flashed a warm smile, asking if she was okay. Even behind her veil, she was a total babe. We swapped basic stories, with her hiding her royal status and me mentioning my prince title. Soon, we were traveling Kun Prefecture together, getting closer by the day. We kept things clean due to old-school boundaries, but we were chatting like old friends. Even Master Kinglong was impressed by my game. One night by the fire, I hand her a sizzling roasted chicken leg. I'd finally learned her name, Princess Wu Mingyu. She reaches to take the food and pulls off her veil. Man, my jaw hit the dirt. I've never seen a girl this gorgeous, eyes glowing, skin like snow, otherworldly. I stared like an idiot until she blushed and asked what I was looking at. I'm no male model, but she loved my simple, rugged vibe. In my head, I'm thinking, my cheating ex by you dumped me, but the universe just handed me a major upgrade. Time to seal the deal. I let out a heavy sigh, looking totally miserable. When she asked what was wrong, I muttered, "It's nothing, just thinking of my unfaithful fiancé." Hook, line, and sinker. She looked at me with total sympathy, so I spun this massive yarn about my life. I told her how devoted I was to my ex, how she threw me away for some powerful enemy, and how they crippled my meridians when I went to get answers. I painted this picture of me, lonely and broken, gritting my teeth and training in the dark for revenge. She ate it up. Furious, she asked, "Who is this jerk? Do you want me to handle him?" Inside, I'm throwing a party. Master Kinglong said her family was huge, so she could go toe-to-toe with the Jun family. But I played it cool, putting on my best tough guy face. No, I must settle this with my own hands. That sealed it. She looked at me with pure respect and snapped, "I don't care who he is. I'll make him regret ever messing with you." With her backing me, that arrogant Jun Xiaoyao was in for a massive reality check. So, this clown Xiao Chen was apparently getting all teary-eyed, thanking Princess Wu Minyu, while she secretly promised to take me out if she crossed my path. Little did they know, I was just chilling back at my palace, meditating when I got this weird itch. I actually laughed, wondering which of my haters was plotting my downfall this time. Let's see. The Dragon Nest, Xiao Chen Yi Xingyan, maybe even my own cousin Wanji? That's like 4 separate groups wanting a piece of me, but honestly, nobody could touch me. Just as I was calculating my survival rate at a clean 100%, my cousin Zhang Jian ran up to my gates, vibrating with excitement. I let him in, and he blurted out that the Yuanshan Supreme Treasury was finally opening. I just smiled and asked if the big vault was ready to pop. Honestly, the whole thing went exactly how I figured it would. Zhang Jian told me some crazy energy anomalies were leaking out in Nanyuandao province, smelling like a dead supreme. He mentioned our family had 4 guys with the keys to the place. When I asked who, he hesitated before dropping the name Jun Wanji. I just shrugged. Wanji and I'd bad blood, but the kid wasn't even on my level, so I didn't care. Meanwhile, the news spread like wildfire across the 3,000 Dao provinces. A supreme's loot is no joke, even for the big dogs. While everyone was packing their bags, that loser Xiao Chen was out in Kun province with his princess. His dragon master was whispering in his ear to steal some ancient dragon bones, so he turned to her, looking all soft, and asked her to tag along. Now, Xiao Chen actually thought he was smooth. They hadn't even held hands, but he'd convinced himself he was winning her over. Behind her white veil, she gave him this soft look, but shook her head, saying she couldn't go because she'd get recognized and dragged back home. Turns out, she's actually the eldest princess of the Panwu divine dynasty, running away from some arranged marriage. Hearing this, Xiao Chen got all hot-headed and blurted out that he'd marry her one day. She blushed like crazy, playing hard to get, but she was definitely feeling him. Too bad a broke prince from a tiny kingdom has zero chance with her royal family. He gave her this cheesy, confident smile, promised he'd keep his word, and then they had a teary goodbye. Honestly, I could barely keep a straight face. So, while I was getting ready, you and I both know there is always someone trying to ruin the vibe. This princess, Wu Minyu, was having a whole dramatic monologue about my rival, Xiao Chen. She is like, "Oh, I will secretly be your guardian angel in the Yuanshan Supreme Treasury." Talk about a side chick move. Meanwhile, over at the ancestral dragon nest, this massive mountain range oozing dragon energy, their old ancestor is getting all worked up. He orders this girl, Long Bichi, to go snatch back some ancient dragon bones. Bichi is this dragon maiden with actual horns poking out of her head. Since she traces back to some ancient dragon emperor, she thinks she is hot stuff. Honestly, her dragon blood is probably 0.001%, but she still got a massive ego. Bichi tells the old guy she is on it, but then the ancestor warns her to watch out for me. She gets annoyed because she is sick of hearing my name. She is like, "Is he really that tough?" The old guy points out I literally deleted their star boy Long Hoshin. But Bichi's big brain math is like, "Please, Hoshin only had 1 dragon essence. but I fused with 2, so I am twice as strong. Love the logic, sweetie, but that is not how it works. She leaves, ignoring the warning, while the old man sighs about some lost female dragon hair who could supposedly help them crush me. Good luck with that. Meanwhile, Nanyuandao province is absolute chaos now, with every minor sect flying in on ancient beasts, hoping to pick up our crumbs. You should have seen the crowd rolling up. We got Long Beachy riding her green dragon, looking all heroic. Then there is Ji Zhuan, this little saint from the Ji family, riding a golden horse with his arm glowing like a flashlight. Even the monster clans are showing up, some 9-headed golden lion and a giant black sparrow eating everything in its path. Meanwhile, back at the family mansion, I am packing my bags for my first real step out into the world as the divine son. My grandfather, Jun Janshin, hands me a couple of overpowered talismans just in case some old geeks try to jump me. He tells me I have to handle my peers myself. I just smiled and told him if anyone my age can actually beat me, then I do not even deserve to carry the family name. See, when you're a divine son, you carry your clan's entire reputation. If you lose, your whole family gets clowned on. My grandpa warned me that everyone would try to step on me to make a name for themselves. I just chuckled and told him they'd need to survive the attempt first. Then we got ready to roll. They had this insane chariot waiting for me, pulled by 9 white jade dragon horses. Just one of these beasts is a major flex, and I had 9 of them. My cousins, Zhang Jian and Su Huang, were waiting by the ride, and when I walked out with Linglong, the whole crowd of young geniuses bowed to me. Everyone was hyped after my 10-year banquet, but I noticed one guy was missing. Zhang told me Wanji had already left with his crew. I just laughed. Was the kid mad at me? Whatever. My motto is simple: if someone is not convinced, you beat them until they are. If one punch does not do it, you just throw another. We rolled out in style, heading straight for Nanyuandao province. Meanwhile, Xiao Chen was rushing there too, desperate to get his hands on those ancient dragon bones. He needed them for his cultivation, and his master needed them to build a new body. Too bad for him. The province itself was run by the Daoji Heavenly Sect, and their old Daoist had been kissing my butt at my 10-year banquet. We ended up in Nanshan City, the closest town to the treasury, and the place was an absolute zoo. Cultivators, beasts, and royal clans were everywhere. Suddenly, a bunch of green-robed guys from the Daoji Heavenly Sect showed up with their elders, and everyone went quiet. So we roll up to Nanshan City, and the local crowd is already losing their minds. Apparently, the old Daoist of the Daoji Heavenly Sect, who is basically a big deal around there, even higher than the actual boss of the sect, is standing outside waiting in the heat. People are whispering, trying to figure out what kind of god-tier VIP is coming. Then our crew shows up, and we did not travel light. We have got war chariots, massive flying boats, and my personal ride pulled by 9 white jade dragon horses, with the giant Jun family banner slapping in the wind. The crowd starts screaming about how the legendary, supposedly drop-dead gorgeous divine son has finally arrived. My granddad, Jun Janshin, steps off his ride laughing like a boss, and the old Daoist immediately starts looking around, desperate to get a glimpse of me. I decide to give the people what they want, so I step out of the carriage. Now I am not trying to brag, but my supreme bone and my natural physique make me literally glow like a neon sign. I have got this white robe on looking all majestic, and the second I step out, the crowd absolutely erupts, is like a boy band just landed. The girls are screaming, clutching their chests, and crying about how they can never look at another man again. One chick from some top-tier sect literally swore to become a nun if she couldn't marry me. Even the guys are just standing there, completely defeated, because they know they can't compete with this level of genetic cheat code. Honestly, looking at them, they reminded me of those obsessively crazy fanboys and fangirls from my past life. It was wild. While the old Daoist was busy escorting us to our 5-star VIP quarters, and the whole city was still gossiping about my grand entrance, my cousin, Jun Wanji, was apparently throwing a massive temper tantrum in some nearby courtyard. Now this guy is the 5th sequence of our family, and he is sitting there with literal lightning sparking off his armor, looking super dramatic. He was absolutely seething because when he arrived earlier, they basically gave him the budget motel welcome, but when I showed up, the entire sect rolled out the red carpet. His little henchman wrapped in black smoke was pumping him up, whispering about how the local sect is blind, and how a wet behind-the-ears kid like me could never compare to him. Honestly, the salt was real, and he was ready to prove a point. So my cousin Jun Wanji, the 5th sequence guy who absolutely detests my guts, had this fanboy lackey named Haidu. Wanji was apparently crying to himself, whining about how I got the 0 sequence title handed to me on a silver platter while he had to bleed for his spot. I mean, Is it my fault I was born this ridiculously talented? Sucks to be him, I guess. Anyway, while he was having a literal mental breakdown, I was living rent-free in Nantian City, waiting for this massive supreme treasury to open. My grandpa went off to make sure the old-timers stayed out so we younger guys could fight for the loot. I was just chilling when my girl, Linglong, offered to fetch me some fancy local tea. I teased her, saying whoever marries her is a lucky man, and she blushed like crazy. Now, between you and I know she has already resolved to stay by my side forever as my maid. She is too modest to ask for anything more, though she would probably jump at the chance if I offered. Besides, 10-year age gap is basically a blink of an eye for cultivators like us. Anyway, she heads out to the market and actually finds some 10,000-year-old tea. But just as she is about to pay, this total clown wrapped in black fog pops up, trying to act tough and demanding the tea for himself. Linglong is a noble daughter of our family, so she is not used to people pushing her around. The guy was Heir. She recognized his weird clan instantly because of her special heart, but she had no clue this idiot was actually working for my cousin. She told me later exactly how it went down. This Heir guy looks at her all smug, asking if she has an issue. She plays it cool, giving him that ice-cold noble glare. He admits he knows who she is but says he serves Wanji, so he is not scared of her. When she tells him the tea is for me, the divine son, the idiot actually claims his master is just as strong as I am. Right on cue, a massive sword light comes flying out of nowhere. One of my other cousins, Janjian, steps in to teach the guy a lesson. Haitu had to turn into literal smoke to dodge the blast, which apparently drains a massive amount of his energy. Serves him right for trying to act like a big shot. So my boy Jun Janjian steps in. Now you gotta understand he is the 10th sequence, right? Previously, he practically begged to be my personal assistant, but I had to shoot him down because a top-tier clan member playing errand boy is just terrible for my brand. But the guy basically acted like my loyal shadow anyway. He corners this low-tier lackey, Haitu, who is absolutely shaking in his boots. Zanjian barks at him, asking if his boss, Jun Wanji, gave him the balls to mess with my crew. Just then, the big boss himself, the 5th sequence, Jun Wanji, rolls up. He is crackling with lightning like a broken microwave, mocking Zhangjian for willingly submitting to me. He is demanding to know what kind of hypnotic charm I supposedly have over everyone. Wanji shows up looking like a discount thunder god, eyes glowing with bright lightning like he is trying way too hard to look cool. Of course, a crowd of nosy people immediately starts gathering, whispering about how we are having an internal family feud before the sacred treasury even opens. Wanji starts trash-talking Zhangjian, telling him to drop his sequence title if he wants to be my lapdog, and then he just throws a massive wave of lightning. He has got this fancy lightning tribulation physique, which apparently ranks in the top 300 and has insane offensive power. He unleashes this massive torrent of thunder right at Zhangjian and my girl Linglong, forcing them to draw their weapons just to survive the blast. The blast hits them hard, knocking them back. Zhangjian holds his ground since he is a sequence, but Linglong takes the worst of it. She is forced back dozens of steps, coughing up blood. Then this clown Wanji has the nerve to say I should keep a low profile, and just walks away like a classic movie villain. His little dog Haitu starts bragging too before scuttling off. Meanwhile, Linglong is literally spitting fresh blood. And what is she thinking about? Buying me my favorite tea. Seriously. The girl gets blasted by lightning, and her immediate thought is, gotta get the boss his tea. When they finally got back to me, she was pale as a ghost, trying to smile while handing over the tea she bought. It actually made me feel a bit bad. I took one look at her and knew some garbage had gone down. I stood up, walked over, and gently wiped the blood off her lip. She blushed like crazy, but my mind was already racing. I asked what happened, keeping my voice cool, but inside, I was plotting some serious payback. Zhangjian confessed everything, looking incredibly apologetic. I looked at Linglong and told her she was a dummy, getting blasted by a lightning god and still worrying about my tea, but she just smiled like she had won the lottery. I threw my sleeves back and told them we were going to pay Wanji a visit. Zhangjian asked where we were going, and I just smiled. You know that saying about a gentleman waiting 10 years for revenge? Yeah, that is not my style. Vengeance is best served boiling hot and immediately. If someone touches my people, I am knocking on their door before they can even wash the blood off their hands. Meanwhile, over at Wanji's place, his little hype man Haitu was asking why they did not just come smash me directly. Wanji, trying to sound like a master strategist, explains that I have the sacred body and the supreme bone, so he wanted to play it safe to avoid the clan elders getting mad before the treasury opens. He actually thought I would just sit back and take it until the treasure hunt was over. What a joke. Right as he is bragging, I drop a massive Human King seal right on top of his pavilion like a meteor. Surprise, buddy. So there I was, floating in the sky, looking down at the absolute mess I had just made. I had just dropped my Human King seal right on top of Jun Wanji's fancy pavilion, and the look on his face before he bolted was priceless. His buddy Heir turned white as a sheet, vaporizing into black smoke to run. Boom. The entire city literally shook, leaving a massive, smoking crater where his house used to be. The local busybodies in Nanshan City went wild, yelling about who would actually dare trash the fifth sequence's place. Well, that would be me. I stood there, one hand behind my back, looking casual. Then, out of the ruins, Wanji explodes into the sky, covered in crackling blue lightning and screaming my name like some rejected villain. He really did not expect me to be this decisive. To be fair, the guy had just got done bragging that I wouldn't dare touch him. Talk about an instant reality check. His buddy Heir materialized next to him, shaking in his boots. Seeing me vaporize their entire block tends to do that to a guy. Wanji tried to play it cool, swallowing his rage to ask me what I was doing. I didn't even blink. I just asked him who gave him the balls to touch my people. Wanji whined that it was just a little warning, asking if the great divine San's ego was really this small. I just nodded and said, yeah, my ego is tiny. Then I locked eyes with Heir. I told him brainless sidekicks are better off dead, and conjured a massive golden energy hand to flatten him like a bug. Wanji tried to save his boy by throwing up a giant lightning hand. I mean, come on, buddy. Did you really think that would work? I just sighed, summoned a golden dragon claw, and swatted his hand away. Meanwhile, Heir pulled a magic trick, turning into black mist to dodge my attack. The guy actually got cocky, laughing and mocking me for not being able to kill him. What an absolute clown. I just tilted my head, activated my hell-suppressing force, and dropped a pitch-black furnace of pure gravity. He tried the mist trick again, but my furnace vacuumed the smoke right up and started cooking. His screams cut off real fast. Suddenly the whole city went dead quiet. Turns out, vaporizing a top-tier prodigy in 2 moves gets people's attention. Honestly, Heir wasn't some weakling. He was a real powerhouse, which is why Wanji kept him around. But I swatted him like a fly without breaking a sweat, and the crowd below was absolutely stunned. Wanji, of course, lost his mind. His hair was standing on end, and he had literally 3-foot-long bolts of lightning shooting out of his eyes. Having your main sidekick deleted in front of everyone is a brutal slap in the face. He lunged at me with his 8 Desolations astounding thunder palm, which usually kills anyone instantly. My cousin Janjian yelled for me to be careful, because he'd lost to this move before. I didn't even bother dodging. I just wound up and threw a simple, casual punch that echoed with a massive dragon roar. So I wrapped this glowing true dragon phantom right around my knuckles and just let it rip. Boom! That's that classic ancestral dragon nest move, the dragon fist. But wait, let's do some quick math. Inside my body, I had 70,000 giant elephant particles loaded up. That's like 700 million caddies of divine power pouring into one punch. The whole sky practically cracked, and Nanshan City rattled like a cheap subway car. Next thing you know, Jun Wanji goes flying back like a busted kite, spitting blood. His punching arm was twisted like a wet noodle shattered, obviously. He stared at me in total shock, finally tasting the despair those other losers felt. The crowd was stunned, but Wanji just couldn't accept getting humbled. He wiped his mouth and yelled, "I do not believe it, come at me again." Look, I will give the guy some credit. Wanji crawled his way up from the bottom, so he had more spine than those other pushovers. He stood up, his broken arm crackled with blue lightning, and snapped. The bones popped right back into place. The crowd started whispering about his fancy lightning tribulation physique, which apparently ranks in the top 300. But my local fan club of female cultivators just laughed, calling it trash compared to my sacred body. Wanji ignored them, flew up, and started screaming about executing me on behalf of the heavens with his desolate thunder god move. Honestly, I had to laugh. The heavens themselves bow to me, so why would I care about him? I just unleashed my golden spiritual sea, pushed my divine elephant force, and conjured a storm of weapons to shred his little thunderstorm. So with my right hand, I whipped out that true dragon heaven trapping art I swiped from the dragon origin. I launched both of these massive attacks at the exact same time. My giant dragon's shadow blasted straight up into the sky, smashing into his thunder deity like a freight train, while my cloud of weapons swarmed the guy. He did not even have time to react before he got absolutely shredded. He was coughing up blood with broken ribs, but I was not done. I popped my devil wings, teleported right above him using maximum speed, and brought my heel down on his chest like a god dropping a mountain. We hit the dirt like a falling star, and when the dust settled, My foot was firmly planted on his chest while I stood there with my hands behind my back, my robes totally spotless. It looked like a movie scene. The fifth sequence, completely crushed, and I had not even used my supreme bone or sacred body yet. So Wanji is pinned down there, his face turning the color of a bruised plum, screaming at me to get my foot off him. Naturally, I just pressed down harder, feeling his ribs crack like dry twigs under my boot. I looked down at him and asked why he could not just stay in his lane. He starts rambling about how he is not beaten yet, that he just needs more time. I laughed and told him that even if I gave him 100,000 years, he would still just be staring at my dust. Honestly, that totally broke his spirit. He looked like he was about to choke on his own pride. While he was lying there having a full-blown existential crisis, I reached into his pockets and swiped his jade slip with the undergoing tribulation art. I do not really need it, but hey, it could be useful when I have to deal with my own sacred body tribulation later. I stared down at him, wondering if the family would actually get mad if I just ended him right there. I could see the sheer panic in his eyes the second he realized I was playing for keeps. He finally did the math in his head. If I killed him, a mere fifth sequence, the family elders wouldn't do anything but give me a slap on the wrist. His life would be gone and nobody would avenge him. Look, I didn't actually want to kill the guy. Slaying my own family's sequence is bad for PR, and I really couldn't be bothered to deal with the family elders whining about it. But I also couldn't just let him walk away to scheme against me later. So, I offered him a very simple, very generous deal. I looked him dead in the eye and gave him two choices. Either submit to me, let me plant a slave imprint on him, or he could just die right there. Let's see what he chooses. So I'm standing there, and this guy Jun Wanji is looking at me like I just kicked his dog. His face is totally pale, teeth grinding, realizing that if he dies here, nobody's coming to save him. But kneeling to me, that would completely shatter his pride. I tell him he's got 3 breaths before I end him. Suddenly his whole body starts shaking, and boom, he actually drops to his knees. I was honestly shocked because I thought he'd choose death. I plant the soul slave imprint directly into his open mind. It's voluntary, so now I literally hold his life in my hands. Then he drops this sob story on me about a long-lost little sister in the lower realm. I had to hold back a laugh. Seriously, the classic lost sister trope. Come on. So, you gotta understand how this crazy universe is set up. We have the 9 heavens, which is basically the high-rent district, and then there are the 10 lands down in the lower realm. Crossing the border between them is a massive pain. The cosmic toll is ridiculously expensive, and they limit your power level just to pass. No wonder my cousin Jun Wanji was working himself to death trying to get down there to find his sister. I actually felt a little bad for the guy, so I offered him a deal. I told him if I ever make the trip, I might as well bring her back. Well, that did it. The guy literally slammed his head against the floor so hard I thought he would dent the wood. Boom. Just like that, the most toxic guy in our family became my loyal dog, and everyone else just stood there in shock. So now I have 3 of the 10 top hairs in my pocket, which is pretty hilarious since my granddad was terrified they would all band together to jump me. At this rate, the rest will probably be shining my shows by next month. Of course, the real heavies are the guys in the top spots, like the dude with the creepy double pupils, or the guy with the forbidden magic. But whatever, I had bigger fish to fry, like waiting for this legendary treasury to open. While I was relaxing, news of me putting my cousin in his place spread like wildfire. Meanwhile, across town, some fancy club of rich kid cultivators was throwing a party. Right in the middle was this guy Ji Zwan, wearing a gold robe and showing off his glowing right arm like a human flashlight while everyone kissed his feet. Now, this Ji Zwan guy is kind of a big deal, at least on paper. Not only is he a top talent from the prestigious Ji clan, but he is also a saint at the Holy Spirit Academy. That place is basically the Ivy League of cultivation, where every big-name family sends their kids, and only the absolute best of the best get the saint title. But the real kicker, the guy literally grafted a piece of a legendary Saint King bone into his own right arm. I mean, doing the math, even if he can only unlock 10 or 20% of that power, it still makes him way stronger than your average trust fund cultivator. They even call him the little saint because of it. So there they are, eating grapes and hyping him up, until some guy at the table ruins the vibe by saying, "Hey, speaking of power, what about that legendary Jun family here?" You could hear a pin drop. To them, I was basically like the sun in the sky, completely out of reach. Suddenly, all of Ji Zwan's fancy titles meant absolutely nothing. He tried to play it cool, sipping his wine, but I know what was eating at him. His clan used to be part of the big 3 imperial families, but then my family, the Jiangs, and the Yes pushed them out. We are just swimming in talent. And then there is me. So of course, this guy had a major inferiority complex. He wanted a piece of me to prove his clan was still relevant. Some brown nosers at the table noticed the awkward silence and quickly chimed in, trying to stroke his ego by saying there is no way he is inferior to me, especially since he had already beaten some of my cousins before. Now, while I was chilling, this guy Ji Swan was walking around acting like he was some big shot because he beat my guy Jun Zhangjian back in the day. He mutters to himself about not messing with me unless I mess with him first, which is pretty funny. See, he found this dusty old book in his academy with a token and a secret talisman pointing to some hidden supreme treasure. He genuinely believed that if he grabbed it, he would soar straight to the top and sweep all of us. Talk about delusional. Meanwhile, right at the city gates, this other loser Xiao Chen rolls into town wearing a hooded cloak like he is in some emo band. The second he hears how much stronger I have gotten, his face goes white and he starts grinding his teeth like an absolute maniac. This poor bastard Xiao Chen felt like an ant trying to shake a tree whenever he thought of me. Luckily for him, he had his little ring grandpa, Master Qinglong, whispering in his ear to calm him down, telling him that if he grabbed the ancient dragon bone, he could totally surpass me. But here is the kicker: he had no clue Princess Wu Mingyu from the Panwu dynasty was stalking him in a white veil. She was basically babysitting him, but her mind was totally on me. She is a high and mighty princess, but even she was swooning over rumors of my god-tier looks and power. Meanwhile, where was I during all this drama? Just chilling at our family pavilion, breathing easy, and waiting for the show to start. So my grandfather, Jun Zhangjian, and the elders roll back in. They heard about me enslaving Wanji, and instead of chewing me out, my grandpappy is thrilled. He says sometimes you gotta crack some skulls to lock down your spot as the zero sequence. I ask if anyone's gonna complain, and he laughs. Who would dare? I am backed by the 18th ancestor. He tells me the big clans decided to seal the area so only the younger generation can enter the treasury. I tell him I will make him proud. Cut to a few days later, 1,000 miles away in the Taihuang forest, the ground starts shaking. This weird black mist starts creeping out, turning all the wild beasts into red-eyed, raging maniacs. Even the old Taoist running the show noticed it and started sweating, thinking something was seriously wrong. My grandpa told me later about this absolute circus of a meeting before the trial even kicked off. Ji Banyan, this dressed-up fossil from the Ji family, was shaking in his expensive boots over some creepy gray mist, wondering if it was that nasty dark matter from the foreign realm. Now, real dark matter is pure nightmare fuel. It either turns you into a brain-dead monster or just deletes you from existence. My grandpa, Jun Zhangjian, just shrugged it off, but then some lizard-brained elder from the ancestral dragon nest started talking trash. Grandpa shut him down instantly, asking if this green-skinned loach wanted to end up like the black-skinned one our 18th ancestor sliced into pieces. That quieted the room real quick. Finally, the Jiang family elder asks if we're still doing this, and Ji Banyan starts acting all tough, saying we can't back down now. What a joke. Of course, Ji Banyan only wanted his family's golden boy Ji Xuan to look good. Back in Nanjing City, I felt the energy shifting in the forest and knew it was go time. I put on my white robes, stepped outside, and got ready. Meanwhile, Ji Xuan was posing in his pavilion, hiding his right arm, the one he fused with some ancient Saint King bone behind his back like a mastermind. He thought he had the upper hand with his cheat codes, dreaming about making a name. Oh, and Xiao Chen was stuffing his face at a tavern, getting ready to hunt for the dragon bone. Even Long Bichi, the dragon girl in her azure armor, was flying in, wondering if I really had 3 heads and 6 arms. She figured nobody's truly invincible, so why not take a shot? Honestly, I love the confidence. It makes breaking them so much more fun. Long Bichi actually thought she could make a clean getaway if things went south. Yeah, keep dreaming, sweetheart. Along with her, we had the 9-headed lion clan and the heaven-swallowing sparrow clan tagging along. When my crew and I stepped out, every single eye in Nanjing City glued itself to us. You and I both know how it is. I'm used to the paparazzi treatment by now, so I didn't care. But then, I hear this sweet, familiar voice behind me. I turn around and there's a flying boat holding Jiang Shengyi, looking like some goddess descending to earth. Seriously, she's drop-dead gorgeous and totally attuned to the Tao. I played nice and called her Sister Shengyi, which gave her this big, bright smile, and every guy around us turned green with envy. Even though Shengyi is way more mature than Jiang Luoli, she's still a fun young woman, not some boring stiff. I was surprised they sent her instead of Luoli, and she immediately teased me, asking if I was bummed out. Honestly, not even a little. I didn't care about that short-legged brat. Apparently, Luoli was locked in closed-door cultivation, which made her furious. When I asked if we were traveling together, I figured I'd keep an eye on her since she's family. But she rolls her eyes and asks who's supposed to protect whom. I just laughed it off. I didn't need protection, but why ruin her fun? While the crowd was busy drowning in envy, a massive beam of light shot up from the forest. It was our family's own sky-viewing mirror, hovering like a giant azure pool. The game was finally starting, and the old-timers were officially locked out. I knew exactly why those old geezers set up that giant sky-viewing mirror. They were terrified their precious little geniuses would get turned into soup inside the treasury, so they needed a panic button to bail them out. I just gave my sleeve a casual flick and said, "Let's go." Behind me, my crew Zhang Jian Zuohuang, and the rest nodded so fast they almost gave themselves whiplash. Even my aunt Zhang Shengyi was looking at me like, "Damn, my nephew is actually a big deal now." Meanwhile, the whole city went wild. Some old-timer warned them it was a death trap, but try telling broke cultivators that a free lottery ticket is too dangerous. Even my favorite hater, Xiao Chen, was hiding under a hood, glaring at me like I personally ruined his life. The whole area around the forest was absolutely buzzing. It is only about 1,000 miles from the city, so we made it there in like 15 minutes flat. The place looked spooky as hell, choked with this nasty gray mist. But way deep inside, you could feel that supreme power radiating. That was where the real treasure was. You needed a special token like mine to get to the good stuff, but that did not stop the desperate horde of cultivators from rushing the gates to fight over the scraps. While monsters driven mad by the mist were tearing people apart, Jiswan, the Ji family's little golden boy, showed up and glared at me. Zanjian was practically shaking, complaining that this kid beat him once and bragged about it. Personally, I only cared about his right arm. He has a Saint King bone fused in there. I am literally doing the math in my head. Should I just rob him now or later? I was staring at Ji Ixuan like he was a prime cut of ribeye waiting for the grill. He looked back at me, trying to act tough, but I could see the sweat in his eyes. With all this immortal mist glowing around me, he could not size me up, which was clearly eating him alive. So, like the coward he is, he looked over at Zhang Jian and smirked, trying to feel big. Zhang Jian looked like he was about to pop a blood vessel, muttering about wanting to rub the kid's face in the dirt. I just told him to chill out. We would handle it when we got to the treasury. If Jiswan behaved, I would only take his loot. If he acted up, well, I would have to teach him some manners. As we pushed deeper, the other hares followed close behind us, using me as a shield. Suddenly, this massive, 10-foot-tall ghost-faced bear, driven crazy by the gray mist, jumped out and started slapping people into pancakes. Before that big bear could even finish its roar, I threw out a golden hand of pure magical energy. Boom! Now we had 2 flat bears. I wiped my hands, told everyone to keep moving, and acted like it was nothing. My squad was used to it, but the guys tailing us were practically drooling from shock, muttering about how I just one-shotted a mini-boss. Meanwhile, GX1 was showing off too, using that Saint King arm of his to blast beasts apart without breaking a sweat. Everyone was hyping him up, talking about how lucky he was to have a Saint King bone. But then, this quiet guy in a cloak caught my eye. He was punching out actual blue dragon energy, just obliterating everything in his path. The crowd was going wild over this mysterious dark horse. I just smiled. Well, it looks like my favorite little vegetable has grown nice and plump, just waiting for me to harvest him. So, right off the bat I spot this guy and I'm like, yep, that's definitely Xiao Chen. But did I call him out? Nah, why ruin the fun? The poor bastard was trying so hard to lay low, probably thinking he was playing some master chess move to catch me off guard, steal the prize, and get his revenge. He thought he was playing 5D chess, but I was already chilling in the penthouse, looking down at his little game plan. I just smiled, thinking, go ahead, buddy, dream big. I'll let you find the loot, then I'll harvest you like a ripe vegetable. Meanwhile, other guys were getting wrecked by beasts in the woods. I, on the other hand, just strolled right through like it was a walk in the park, barely lifting a finger until we hit this massive, creepy-looking crack in the dirt. So this creepy gray fog starts pouring out of the crevice. Everyone else is sweating bullets, burning through their spiritual energy just to keep the mist off their skin. But me? I didn't even bother. My ancient sacred body is basically a cheat code, pure golden blood, totally immune to any dark, nasty junk. While they're struggling, I'm just standing there looking down, thinking the secret realm below has gone completely sour. Right then, this massive, ugly black ape with fleshy wings and a horn on its head drops out of nowhere, smashing a whole cliffside. The guys around me start panicking, screaming about some primeval demonic ape. This thing is in the Unity realm, a whole level above my divine bridge rank. The beast locks its red eyes on me and just charges, tearing up mountains like cardboard. Everyone is watching me, and up in the sky, The old heads are projecting the whole fight through a magic mirror. Some elder from the G family was already smirking, telling my grandpa that I was in deep trouble. But my grandpa just smiled because he knows what I can do. As this giant ape is barreling toward me, I don't even flinch. I raise my hand, unleash my golden spiritual sea, and let the mana flow. I summon our family's art of military conquest, turning that energy into thousands of glowing weapons, swords, spears, axes, you name it. I send a whole golden storm flying right at this beast. It roars, wrapping itself in dark armor. The impact was loud, shattering its armor, but the damn thing barely has a scratch. Not bad, I thought. Then its horn starts glowing with nasty runes, shooting a death beam straight at my face. I could feel Jizhuan, Xiao Chen, and even Princess Wu Mingyu watching from the shadows, probably praying for my downfall. Too bad for them. I stayed cool as ice, calling up my divine elephant hell-suppressing force. A giant, dark phantom of the underworld god shielded me, and when that beast's laser hit my shield, it didn't even leave a scratch. The ape looked totally dumbfounded. Before it could process what was happening, I grew devil wings, zipped right in front of its face, and activated the human king's seal. This massive, godlike phantom appeared behind me, radiating absolute dominance. I slammed the seal down like a falling mountain, smashing the ape into the dirt. It tried to roar, but I just unloaded on it. 3 brutal punches later, the beast was dead. The entire crowd went dead silent, staring at me like I was a monster. So there I was, looking like a glorious immortal, but 3 punches later I turned a massive beast into a literal meat patty. Ji Xuan was sweating bullets, and Xiao Chen was shaking with pure rage and fear, because he realized all his years of training still left him leagues behind me. Princess Wu Mingyu was hiding in the shadows, totally stunned. Up in the clouds, my grandpappy was smugly telling everyone I just do not know how to keep a low profile, while the other elders grumbled. But before we could celebrate, a bunch of arrogant primordial crews showed up, including this girl Long Bichi from the ancestral dragon nest, some 9-headed lion, and a giant bird. The whole vibe went from tense to ready to explode, and naturally, Long Bichi locked her eyes right on me. I mean, let's be real, wherever I stand, I basically become the center of the universe. Everyone just stares. This dragon girl Long Bichi strutted up all proud and asked if I was indeed the legendary Jun Xiaoyao. I looked at her dragon horns and asked who she was. She bragged about her royal dragon bloodline, and I just smirked and told her she had a very fragrant name. She had no clue I was basically calling her dragon pool water, but whatever. Then, the sky starts shaking, and this massive golden 9-headed lion rolls in, roaring like crazy. Everyone was terrified because his ancestors were legendary beast gods, but this overgrown house cat looks at me and says I am strong enough to be his follower. Next thing we know, a giant black bird, the heaven-swallowing sparrow, blocks out the sun, smelling like a fresh crime scene. This massive bird was part of the heaven-swallowing sparrow clan, and these guys are known for eating humans like popcorn. It looked at me with bloodthirsty eyes, drooling, because my ancient sacred body is basically a premium 5-star meal to them. But since they knew I had heavy hitters backing me up, the bird didn't dare swallow me whole. Instead, it started talking trash, saying humans only deserve to be snacks. I just tilted my head, looked at this zoo of primordial freaks, and asked them straight up if they were all completely brainless. They froze. I mean, nobody insults an entire primordial race, let alone 3 at once. Ji Xuan and the others looked like they had seen a ghost. Now the bird is kicking up a massive black storm, the lion is roaring like thunder, and they are both screaming about making me pay. Honestly, I was just getting warmed up. Normally, either of these monsters could wipe out 80% of our human prodigies, and anyone else would be shivering in their boots. But I just stood there, hands behind my back, letting my divine armor glow. I looked calm because, honestly I was. Some jealous haters like Xiao Chen probably thought I was just showing off, but my face is just naturally this handsome, what can I say? I whispered to the beasts, asking if they really thought they could flip the heavens. Then, I unleashed my secret weapon. I activated my inner power, waking up 70,000 giant elephant particles all at once. Boom! A giant golden elephant materialized in the sky, and with one single punch, I ripped their scary black storm right in half. The bird panicked and shot a rain of sharp black feathers at me, but I didn't even bother defending. I just charged straight through like a freight train. This overgrown pigeon, the heaven-swallowing sparrow, screeches that I am courting death and fires these massive feather arrows at me. These things usually shred heavy armor, but against my skin? Clang clang. It sounded like throwing gravel at a wall. His red eyes froze when he saw I didn't have a single scratch. I just smirked, popped my devil wings, and zipped right into his face. No fancy moves, just a golden right hook that broke his wing like dry kindling. While he was screaming, this 9-headed lion charges in, unleashing a spatial roar that made the local onlookers bleed from their ears. I just shrugged, blocked the sound waves with my underworld guard shield, and casually threw a dark energy spear right through the bird's chest. Feathers and blood went flying. Before that big bird could even fall, I lunged forward, grabbed it by both sides, and ripped the damn thing right down the middle, clean in two. The crowd was speechless, but I just tossed the halves to Linglong and told her we were making shredded chicken later. The onlookers looked like they'd seen a ghost treating a legendary beast like cheap takeout. The 9-headed lion went completely ballistic, screaming about my arrogance. I just laughed and told him he was too ugly to be my follower, but he might make a decent ride. That really set him off since their ancestors were famously enslaved as mounts. He went berserk, unleashing this golden fearless lion seal, which is basically their ultimate move. His golden stamp glowed like crazy, shaking the ground so hard that even the local geniuses were shivering, thinking they would be dead meat facing it. But me? I didn't even blink. I let the power of my supreme bone gather in my chest like a mini sun and unleashed my heaven's tribulation light. It wasn't even my strongest move, but it was plenty for this guy. The beam vaporized his fancy lion seal and blasted right at him. He tried to dodge, but the light clipped him, instantly slicing off 4 of his heads in a massive geyser of blood. He let out a horrific howl, and the remaining 5 heads looked completely terrified. I could see it in his eyes. He finally realized he wasn't dealing with some normal human, but a straight-up monster. The lion screams that even with my ancient sacred body, I shouldn't be this strong. His neck stumps start glowing, trying to regrow those heads. Pretty impressive healing factor, but I wasn't about to let him recover. I didn't even use magic. I just walked up and started beating him with my bare fists. Crack, snap, shatter. I asked him again if he was ready to be my ride. He roars that he would rather die. I just chuckled, said oh really, and punched off another head. Now he's down to 4. He still yells never. A few minutes of tenderizing later, he's down to 3, begging for a rain check. Once I popped off the 8th head and left him with only 2, he finally broke down, sobbing and begging for mercy. Stop, please. Do not cut off my last head. I will be completely bold. That was the legendary 9-headed lion, literally begging me for mercy on the ground, covered in blood. I had chopped off 8 of his heads, turning him into a very sad, single-headed lion. The crowd was stunned because this terrifying royal beast was now wagging his tail like a pathetic house cat. I put my foot right on his remaining head and asked if he had finally learned his lesson. He whimpered and submitted instantly. Honestly, he is barely passable as my ride, but he will do. Everyone watching was absolutely losing their minds. Even that dragon girl, Long Bichi, was staring at me with pure terror in her eyes, finally realizing why her ancestors told her not to mess with me. I could tell she was thinking about her buddy Long Ocean, who was busy fusing 7 dragon essences or whatever. Let him try. Meanwhile, the ground split open, and this thick gray mist started pouring out. The supreme ruins were finally open. I waited for my mental system to ping me, but nothing happened. Guess I have to go deeper to check in. Everyone immediately lost their minds and charged down the crack. Even the dragon girl was smart enough to stay out of my way and focus on finding old bones instead. Sensible girl. I hopped onto my newly acquired single-headed lion and led my crew right into the abyss. As soon as we crossed the threshold, the fog got so heavy it was literally driving the weaker cultivators insane. This thick gray mist was something else, leaking right through our magic. A few crazed cultivators rushed me, so I casually slapped them into oblivion and carved a path down the fissure. Below us was a massive underground palace, radiating intense pressure. I scanned it with my soul power and saw it had 2 layers. The outer one was a free-for-all, but the inner chamber probably needed that special token. To check in, I had to go deep. Then I saw Ji Swan smirking as he ran ahead. The guy clearly knew some secrets, so I decided to let him be my personal treasure-hunting rat. I also spotted Xiao Chen, that lucky bastard, slipping into another entrance. I knew he would find something good, so I whispered some orders to Wanji and sent him off. Honest, this whole place was mine to play with. Look, even a total idiot could tell this supreme secret trove was completely messed up. The air in that underground palace smelled like a rotting basement, howling winds, ruins everywhere. Then we saw the bodies pitch black and covered in freaky scales. The second the other cultivators stepped in, these demonic corpses jumped up, eyes glowing red, shredding guys like paper. But me? I was just strolling through, casually slapping these things into raw hamburger meat. I didn't care about saving anyone. I'm not their babysitter, and that whole great power, great responsibility line is definitely not my vibe. Ji Suan actually thought he was being sneaky, slipping away when he thought I wasn't looking. I saw him, of course. I just let him go. Why harvest the crop before it's fully grown? While the other cultivators were busy getting slaughtered, I told Su Huang and Zhang Jian to secretly tail Ji Xuan. They looked shocked, probably feeling bad for the guy, since anyone I target ends up having a miserable day. My beautiful little aunt, Jiang Shengyi, got worried, warning me that Ji Xuan has that Saint King hand bone and might fight to the death. I just laughed and asked if she was falling for me. She rolled eyes, but I knew she loved my confidence. I told her straight up there isn't a single kid in this generation who can make me sweat. If I had my cheat code system and still feared some punk, I might as well beat myself to death with a block of tofu. So we rode off on my 9-headed lion to grab some easy loot. Meanwhile, my cousins went to tail Ji Xuan, and on the other side of the palace, we had our buddy Xiao Chen sneaking around in a hood like some discount ninja. He had this old ghost, Master Qinglong, whispering in his ear, getting all hyped up about finding an ancient dragon bone. The ghost was practically drooling, thinking he could rebuild his body and become a big-shot supreme. Xiao Chen, being a gullible rookie, was vibrating with excitement. He fought off some zombies, stumbled into a massive cave, and found 5 giant dragon skeletons. 4 of them were dark gold, radiating this heavy, majestic pressure that made him want to kneel. But the 5th one was glowing like pure white jade. Even the old ghost gasped, calling it the legendary supreme ancestral dragon bone. This jade skeleton was covered in glowing runes, making the other 4 gold bones look like cheap knockoffs. The ghost explained that this was a supreme ancestral dragon bone, way stronger than normal dragon bones. Xiao Chen was practically foaming at the mouth, thinking he was about to strike it rich. He already had his little power-up technique, and he genuinely believed that if he fused with this thing, he would finally be strong enough to slap me in the face. Honestly, the kid's obsession with me is almost flattering. The ghost told him to pack up the bones and get out, but just as he reached for them, a girl's voice ruined his day. He spun around and saw a hot girl in blue armor and dragon horns standing there, looking at his prize. Talk about bad timing. Now, while I was busy with my own plans, this chick with cyan dragon horns on her head showed up. It was Long Bichi from the ancestral dragon nest. Xiao Chen was already there, and his heart totally sank because he did not expect her to find the spot so fast. She had this special tracking bone that led her straight to the jackpot. When she saw those 5 dragon bones, her eyes lit up. Then she finally noticed Xiao Chen. She basically waved him off like a fly and told him to scram. Xiao Chen got offended and complained, but she just laughed and said, "Who do you think you are, Jun Xiaoyao? If I am scared of him, why would I fear an ant like you?" Hearing my name literally made him lose his mind. He screamed, "Why is it always him?" and went totally berserk on her. So they instantly clashed, throwing around a ton of magical energy. Long Bichi was actually surprised because the guy had reached the middle stage of the Divine Bridge realm. They were going toe-to-toe, trading blows. Meanwhile, that old ghost in his head, Master Qinglong, was screaming at him to grab the bones and run before they attracted a crowd. The old guy could not help directly, or the elders outside would detect his soul. So, Xiao Chen goes full try-hard. He whistles, grows wings, gets covered in blue scales, and boosts his power to the Unity realm. Long Bichi was stunned, recognizing her family's secret dragon art. Xiao Chen gets cocky and throws a massive punch, but she is no pushover. She had eaten 2 dragon essence orbs, making her stronger than their actual dragon son. So this chick Long Bichi was a total nightmare, throwing her hand out like a dragon whipping its tail and throwing magical runes everywhere. I'm unloading raw punches, but we're totally deadlocked, and I'm thinking, this annoying bitch is really ruining my day. Then, boom, a blast of magic rips through the dirt. Bichi ducks but gets clipped, coughing up blood. Out steps this gorgeous girl in a white veil, and I'm like, "Minyu, what are you doing here?" She asks if I'm okay, then turns her ice-cold eyes on Bichi. Bichi asks who she is, and Minyu just uses her princess attitude to tell her to beat it. Bichi tries to threaten her, but Minyu doesn't give a crap. I swore right there I'd marry her, but then a cold voice rings out. I'm standing there, finally looking at these legendary dragon bones, 4 ancient ones and 1 absolute masterpiece of a supreme ancestral bone, thinking my luck has finally turned. Then this jerk in silver armor, covered in lightning sparks, just strolls in. It's Jun Wanji, the 5th sequence of the Jun family. He looks at me with this punchable smirk and says the bones belong to his precious divine son, Jun Xiaoyao. He literally calls me a little white mouse. My chest starts burning so hot I think my ribs are gonna melt. I was played. Again. Jun Xiaoyao used me like a glorified bloodhound. I couldn't take this guy alone, so I swallowed my pride, looked at Princess Wu Minyu, and begged her to help me take him down. Usually, Mingyu doesn't flinch, not even against a dragon princess like Long Bichi. But the second Jun's name came up, she hesitated. I could see the panic in her eyes, worrying about her empire, the Pamu Divine Dynasty. It killed me. Was this Jun Xiaoyao guy really such a nightmare that even the strongest princess in the domain was shaking? I must have looked pathetic because she squeezed my hand and agreed to back me up. Absolute lifesaver. Jun Wanji was squinting at her, trying to figure out her identity under her veil, so I seized the moment. I turned to Long Bichi and pitched a quick truce. I told her we should team up, kick this Jun family kid's teeth in, and split the loot later. Classic enemy of my enemy stuff. Long Bichi isn't stupid. She saw the logic, nodded, and we all leaped at him at once. This lightning-brained idiot actually thought he could take 3 of us. He roars some flashy nonsense about his 8 thunder sealing arts and lets loose this massive storm of lightning. But we didn't come to play. I threw my hands out, unleashing 100 azure dragon patterns that fused into one giant, snapping dragon head. Mingyu threw a wave of pure cosmic energy, and Long Bichi cracked her dragon scale whip so hard it literally tore the air open. Even a monster like him couldn't handle that 3-way beatdown. We pushed him back, and I saw a satisfying trail of blood run down his chin. Oh, that felt good. I couldn't help but laugh. I told him his precious Jun family invincibility was a joke. He lost his mind, screaming like a lunatic and activating his tribulation lightning body. Suddenly he's coated in crackling electricity, but Long Bichi warned us to go all out. She sent a massive dragon phantom roaring forward, and I unleashed my azure dragon rending heaven hand, ready to tear him apart. Mingyu hesitated for a split second, probably worried her family guard would track her down, but she did it anyway. For me, she unleashed these crazy chaos scattering hands, launching 1,000,000 palm strikes that shook the very cave walls. This combined force was so insane it would have crushed a monster like Ji Swan. Jun Wanji was totally cooked. We hit him with everything, and this massive explosion knocks Jun Wanji back dozens of steps. He's already hurt, spitting blood. But honestly, me and the girls got blown back too, covered in nasty black lightning burns. I'm looking at my charred skin, doing the math 3 against 1, and we still can't put him down. I must have looked miserable because Mingyu whispers that she has a golden rope to trap him so I can grab the bones. Wanji yells that we won't touch them, but then her rope whips around him like a snake, locking him down completely. She screams at me to go, and I don't hesitate. I sprout my dragon wings, fly right to his face, turn my arm into a giant claw, and aim straight for his head, wanting to end him. Since I couldn't get to my main enemy, Jun Xiaoyao, yet I figured I'd start by putting his cousin 6 feet under. I swung my claw down, seeing the regret in Wanji's eyes. But just as I am about to split his head open, this massive golden palm comes out of nowhere and slaps me so hard I go flying, coughing up blood. Then I hear this mocking voice talking about how I have the ruthless style of a main character, but none of the luck. Hearing that voice made my stomach drop like I fell into a frozen lake. Honestly, it all happened so fast. Mingyu was probably horrified that I went for the kill, since offing a Jun family heir is a massive deal that could ruin her dynasty. But before she could even process how brutal I actually was, there I was, face planted in the dirt, staring up in absolute terror.